one day I shall come back.
Oh dear, we are in trouble, aren't we?
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
I have the advantage of being slightly ahead of you. Sometimes behind you, but normally ahead of you.
The trouble with time travel is one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear. And it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
A meteor storm and the sky above us was dancing with lights. Purple, green, brilliant yellow, yes!
I'm the doctor, by the way. What's your name?
Rose.
Nice to meet you, Rose.
Run for your life.
It's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
Just remember who's standing in your way.
Look at the eyebrows. These are attack eyebrows. You can take bottle tops off with these.
It's episode 100!
100! Yay!
Welcome to the Big Blue Box Podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And yes, we're at episode 100! 100! Had a slightly mad moment there.
Yeah, we made it.
We made it to 100. The final ever episode of the Big Blue Box Podcast.
Stop it.
Of course not.
If I was sat under a table, I'd be kicking you under it right now. Stop it.
You would be. Gary, shut up. Welcome aboard the TARDIS. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We've got some news bits to do as usual. Then we're going to crack on to our review. And we've also got a cool little competition to win a goodie bag of Big Blue Box Podcast stuffs.
Yeah.
Big Blue Box Podcast stuffs.
Some good little bits in there.
Yes.
Some good goodies.
Some good goods.
Yeah.
So before we get on to what we've been up to and news and all that jazz, we just want to take a moment to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to everyone that's listened over the past year and a bit, something like that.
Yeah, gosh, it's gone quick, hasn't it?
It has absolutely flown by.
Oh, it's scary to think that, yeah.
It has, yeah. If you think about what was going on in Doctor Who back in, episode 1, which was back in, whenever it was. Whenever I started. When was that? I think it was March or the end of March, 2015.
Your very first episode?
Yeah. I think it was. What was going on in Doctor Who at that time?
What year was it? 2015?
Last year, yeah. 2015, March.
Oh, wow. I thought it was before that. See, I've lost track.
Was it 14? Was it? Hold on.
No, it must be before that. I was going to say, I think.
Really?
Yeah. I think we're even older than we think.
Episode 1. Yes, it was March 2014.
My goodness.
Crikey Moses. Yeah, it's I don't even know what was going on back in 2014. What was it? Capaldi was getting ready to do his thing, wasn't he?
I don't know. You will have to go back and listen to that very first step. Have you ever done that? Have you ever gone back and listened to you? Because obviously I wasn't on board at that point, so it was just yourself. Have you ever gone back and had a listen? And
no, I haven't. No,
go on, do it later. Just bang it on and just have a listen, see what was going on.
I think I've gone back and listened just to reference something, to find out, a certain clip or something that I reviewed or how I felt about something. But I haven't listened to an entire episode from way back when. But I remember when I first started it, I was doing just mainly the classic episodes.
Yeah, that's right.
Because the whole thing, the whole what's the thing? Not the mission statement, but the whole point, I guess, of me starting the podcast was to be like a new listener to Doctor Who, but also to go back and appreciate all the classic stuff as well as the new Doctor Who. And I think, so we started off with, some of the classic stuff. And then, I think episode 11 was Deep Breath. And so, so it must have been in that period where there was no new Doctor Who on the TV. It was Peter Capaldi had been announced already, and they had filmed a load of it, and we were just, waiting for that first episode to kick in of series 8.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So a lot's happened in that 100 episodes.
It has. I was trying to think how I first found you, actually. I have a feeling, because there's a lot of Doctor Who podcasts out there, and I think I had a feeling maybe on Twitter or something, you might have liked one of my posts. And I was like, who's this?
No.
Doctor Who podcast. And I always sort of then check out who's, you know, I think that's how I found you. And then obviously listen to the first few. And I remember the thing I liked about the podcast was that you were a new sort of, quite new to the show, because it made it different. That's why I liked it, because all the other Doctor Who podcasts I listen to, they're all great, but they're all people who, you know, very fanatical, know every single thing about the show, and, you know, have been watching it ever since they grew up, you know. And I was thinking that what I liked was, I thought, this guy, this is different, because he's finding his feet. He's like, there's all these classic stories he hasn't seen yet, and this is quite exciting. And I think that's why I really sort of started to get into the show, before I managed to wheedle my way on it full time.
Before you
master plan.
Or you barged in the door and just sat down and started doing it.
That's it. Yeah, invited on for one show and never left.
Yeah. Well, I think what happened was I was having one of those evenings where I was just perusing YouTube, looking for fan-made Doctor Who stuff, and I found one of your videos. I can't even remember which one it was now. It's one of your early ones. And I hit the like button and I left a comment, I believe. And then I found you on Twitter. I thought, this guy's really cool. This guy seems like a nice chap, knows all his Who stuff. And yeah, so I stalked you on Twitter for a bit.
That's it. You can't beat a bit of Twitter stalking to bring people together.
And that was it, yeah. So I thought, why not get him on? He seems cool.
The stars aligned, which is something you often say, which I really like. I always think that's quite a cool way of putting it. The stars aligned.
Yes, and we've been buds.
Never parted.
We've been buds and co-hosts ever since.
Yeah. And I say to you the other day, it's funny because people think we're joined at the hip now, which I kind of like. We're like the Morecambe and Wise Lauren Hardy now. People
That's
are like,
so cool.
When people see me, they're like, where's Gary? Like we should be together all the time, and I love that.
Yeah.
I'm like, he's fine. I tell him all sorts of lies about you. I'm like, well, he's gone in and had an operation, but he's doing what? No, no, I don't really.
Yeah, I know what you mean though. My wife often says to me, "So what does Adam think about so and so then?" I don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
I haven't spoken to him today. I'll probably speak to him maybe later or tomorrow, but right now I'm not sure. She's like,
I suppose we do speak to each other every week. I mean, I remember when you first sort of asked me to join you as a co-host, and I remember sort of saying to you like, so what should we do? Sort of every, one a fortnight or one a month? And you were like, no, every week. And I was like, every week? I was thinking we're never going to be able to keep that up. We're never going to be able to record a podcast every week. It's just not going to happen. And yet we do, and it's without not lying. It's the highlight of my week. I always love it. Forget work, forget the outside world. I love it when we just come on every week and just chat a load of nonsense.
That's it, man. That's what it's about. We somehow did it. I mean, when we first spoke about it, it was a bit of a challenge. I thought, like, how the same as you was like, how are we going to do this, every week, because we had jobs and family and stuff going on, and you and I have changed jobs in that time, and times have changed, but we've still managed to do it. And I think that commitment to doing it is because we just love doing it. And exactly so. And listeners are probably thinking this is a load of BS. What's going on? But this is complete honesty. It is the highlight of my week, because it's just a couple of hours where we can just, like you say, forget about everything else.
Yeah.
And just talk about something that we both love and passionate about. And it's also a chance to hear from our listeners and see what their thoughts on stuff is. And more than anything else at all, more than anything, I just hope that in some way we've managed to pull, our listeners out of their lives for a little bit. So that, on a Friday when it goes out, or whenever you listen to it over the weekend or whatever, if we've managed to pull you out of your life as well and made you forget about what's going on in the world and stuff, and you've enjoyed our complete nonsense and waffle and all that stuff, then that's the goal. That's the main thing. And
so, I gotta say, talking to the listeners that we have, and I'm not just saying this, we've picked up some great followers along the way, and that since we've been going, haven't we? All you guys that regularly comment and listen, and and the lurkers, because I'm a lurker as well. I was saying to someone recently, a podcast I listened to, I said, I'm just letting you know how much I enjoy the podcast, because I listen to it every week or every time you put one out. And then I switch it off, and I don't and I forget that you guys at the other end don't even realise that I'm listening to it every week. But I'm just telling you now that I do, and I really enjoy it. And they were like, "Oh, thanks, man. Thanks for letting us know." Because you do. Some people do that, and that's absolutely fine. I mean, you listen to something, you think, "Oh, it's good," and then you move on and do something else, and you sort of forget that the other people at the other end don't necessarily know you're listening to it, if you know what I mean. But it's great. Yeah, we really appreciate all you guys who comment, and all you guys who listen, and all you guys who download every week. It's brilliant. It's why we do it. Yeah,
it's awesome. Yeah, and we've made so many friends as well since we started it.
Yeah,
so many friends. Just people that leave us really nice reviews on iTunes and send us stuff on Facebook, and people we meet at conventions and all that stuff. We wouldn't have hardly any of that without the podcast. So it's all good stuff, and it is a massive thank you for sticking with us, because we've got you'll hear in one of the audio reviews that we got through a guy called Owen. He's a relatively new listener, which is great. And then we also have people who have listened right from the very beginning, who have still give us a like and a thumbs up, and still tweet and send that stuff in. So regardless of if you've listened from episode 1 or you've joined us from last week, a massive thank you. Because, if we didn't have you guys listening, there wouldn't be any point of us doing the show. So
we'd probably still waffle onto each other. Yeah.
Do you remember the days
with no one
listened?
listening?
Yeah. Do you remember those days when we had listeners, eh? Oh, I wonder what they think. So yeah, huge thanks for sticking with us through 100 episodes. It's yeah. I mean, there's probably if there's people who run podcasts who might listen to this and think, oh, that's all right. We're on episode 300 and whatever, but that's cute, guys. Keep going. But it's a little milestone for us. It's very we didn't think we'd make it this long. So I'm sure you'll echo my thoughts here, mate. It's we're very much appreciative of all of our fans, all of you.
Oh,
fans
definitely,
and listeners.
Yeah.
It's
definitely,
it's awesome.
It's been fun.
It's been fun.
I was just thinking of the times where we've been, because you're saying about last year as well, all the we sometimes when we've changed jobs and stuff, and there's been little things get in the way, and we've somehow always managed to get around it. I'm thinking of the time, one of my favourites, it wasn't when we did it, but it is now, looking back at it, is when we recorded, I recorded one in a car, because not right. Driving, I hasten to add. I think I'd had to move out of my house for a couple of months, and there was just nowhere to go where it was quiet. So I went and sat in a car on the drive and recorded one in there.
I remember.
Because I said to Gary, I don't know how we're going to record it this way, mate. We've got screaming kids, we've got roadworks, it's just nightmare. There's nowhere I can be, where it's quiet. And I managed to find somebody's car I could sit in for 2 hours. And that was back when I had that terrible little mic, because Gary got me a proper professional mic now, so you guys can hear me all clear in all my gravelly clarity. But back then I had this sort of little tiny mic on a wire, didn't I? Do you remember it? It looked like the thing that Davros has in Remembrance of the Daleks.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
It was a terrible little thing. Yeah, so
it kept falling apart, didn't it? And crackling.
It was held together with black sellotape, and but I still, that's one of my favourite little memories. It was a nightmare at the time, but I love looking back thinking, even then, we still managed to.
We still did it.
When I was homeless for a couple of months, we still managed to do one. Yeah.
And then we had the little thing with Daphne when we did the Daphne Ashbrook interview. We had everything set up, and literally like a couple of hours before we were due to record, I had a bit of a family emergency, so I had to go, and it got cancelled, and I was like, oh crikey. And then it was like, no, we're not going to let this go. We're going to do it. So we rescheduled, and I couldn't record in a normal place. So I just had my laptop and microphone down in the front room with wires everywhere. And you just do it,
Definitely was really cool that time.
Actually,
the best thing about you cancelling that night was that I got to Skype her for 2 hours by myself, and we just talked about everything you could think of. It was the most random sort of thing ever, really. She's so lovely. We were talking about Harold and Maude, a really sort of cult classic film, and it was strange. So out of every bad thing, a good thing comes.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. And we did, like you said, we bagged that interview in the end, and she was great. So
yes, that's a good point. Actually, a big thank you to all of the people that we've interviewed on the show. Who have we done? Daphne,
Neil Perryman.
Yeah, he was cool. He sort of got the whole point, because he jumped on very early. I think it was like episode 2 or 3 or something, and he was like, "I really love the fact that you're a new viewer to Who." And you know, because he was like, I'm extremely jealous that you get to experience all of the world of Doctor Who fresh and new. You know, that must be a great feeling. So he got it. You know, that was really good. He's such a great guy as well. He's really funny. Who else have we done?
Andy Frankham-Allen, that your mate at Mr. Andy.
Mr. Andy, yeah. Back when he was launching the Lethbridge Stewart range of books, he spoke about that. He was a really good laugh as well. Really knows his Doctor Who as well.
Yeah.
There's that stuff.
Andrew Cartmel.
Andrew Cartmel, that was the latest one, wasn't it?
Yes.
He was such a good interviewee.
He's a smashing bloke. I enjoyed that one a lot. Yeah.
It's good. And we got some more lined up as well. We're speaking to a couple of peeps at the moment, so there'll be some more in the pipeline.
That's it. We just need to get Matthew Waterhouse on board.
Do we?
Yeah, I'd love to interview him. Actually, I haven't approached him. I don't know if you have, but I'd love to interview Matthew Waterhouse. I think it'd be brilliant. But I'm a little bit scared to approach him, but I might do. Perhaps on the 200th.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
on the 200th
Adric interview.
Yeah. The Adric. For 200, maybe we should get someone a little, you know, Mr. Capaldi.
Yes, he might have finished working on Series 10 by then. So yeah, we could do.
Maybe. Anyways, enough with the soppy stuff. Thank you very much for listening. 100 episodes, it's all good. Shall we land the... Actually, no. Before we land the TARDIS, how have you been, Adam? How have you been, my good friend?
I've been roasting.
You've been roasting hot like the rest of us.
Roasting, yeah, but I'm not complaining because we're in the middle of a mini heat wave here in the UK, listeners, which is very unusual. We don't see the sun very often, and when we do, we can't stop moaning about it.
That's very true.
It's true. We want the summer, and then when it arrives, we all say, "Oh, it's so hot, I can't bear it." But I've been out in the sunshine, not doing a lot. I watched our review app, and obviously, which took up quite a bit of time because it's 10 episodes long. So I managed to get that watched, and I did watch some of the extras on it. It's about the only other Who thing I've done this week. Is I watched some of the extras of the War Games, and there's one on there that I swear I've never seen it before. It was like it appeared out of nowhere. I was like, "What's this devious extra? What's this?" And it's like there's like a fan-made Doctor Who episode on there, and I don't know when it was. I think it's might be from the 90s or something. But it's also got suddenly John Pertwee, because I'm not being nasty. I sort of watched a bit of it and then thought, no, I haven't got time for this. And I was about to switch it off, so I fast forwarded a little bit. It's not because it wasn't good or anything. I'd already just watched 2 hours of TV. I thought I better do something else. But then suddenly John Pertwee popped up in it, and I was like, John Pertwee's in it. What's going on? So I did go back and watch it, and it's quite an interesting little project actually. If you get a chance, it's sort of filling in what might have happened between the War Games and Spearhead from space, and John Pertwee makes his final appearance as the Third Doctor, I believe, in it. So it's a fan project go. It's very, very interesting. I love the effort they've gone to in it. Like they've built a TARDIS interior and stuff like that, and they've got a few other actors from the show in it as well. It looks like they put a lot of effort into it, but it's bizarre because I mean it's not the first time I've put the extras on, and I've never seen it before. It was as if it just suddenly materialized out of nowhere, like a bit like it was a hidden Easter egg, a bit like in Blink. It just was suddenly there. so that was quite enjoyable. But that's about the only other Who thing I've done this week. I've been too busy sunbathing. What about you?
Not much really over the week. It took quite a while to watch the War Games, obviously. There must be about 4.5 hours, nearly 5 hours worth of.
Yes, it is.
Because they're all 24, 25 minutes long.
I take it you didn't watch them all in one go.
I watched 5 and 5.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
I watched 5, 2, and then 3.
Okay, yeah. Which, it's a bit like the Star Wars saga. You know, there's always that. How do you watch, all 6 films or all 7 films now? Do you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Or do you do 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3 and all that stuff? It's a bit like that. How do you break it up? I mean, I guess there's many, many people that have watched 1 to 10 in one. In fact, I know there is one of our listeners who sent in a review, watched all 10 episodes back to back.
Oh, wow.
And then did his review for us. So
That's good going.
That is very good going, yeah. So I watched the first 5, then the final 5, which is good. Not much really. Caught up on some Titan stuff. Managed to read that Supremacy of the Cybermen comic that Titan did.
Oh, mine's just arrived. I haven't had a chance to read it yet. Any good?
Very good.
Right, I love the covers.
Yeah,
I think they're brilliant.
Good.
Yeah.
Very, very, very good. Other than that, not much, because it's been way too hot to sit in front of a TV or a computer much, and yes.
It has indeed. Yeah.
Right, before we land the TARDIS and do some news, should we give away some stuff?
Yes, I think we should. Let's give away some goodies.
Some goodies. So we're going to give away a goodie bag to celebrate episode 100, and we've got a new logo which will be up soon, and that's going to be on some T-shirts. So if you want to win a Big Blue Box Podcast T-shirt and some other bits and pieces, which are basically going to throw in a bag full of cool Doctor Who stuff, essentially. All you need to do is tell us what was the story that we reviewed, or I reviewed, or spoke about back in episode 1.
Of the podcast.
Of this podcast, yeah. Not episode 1 of anything else.
No.
Of the podcast. Usual stuff applies. You can send us an email, you can send us a tweet, a Facebook post.
Carrier pigeon.
Yeah, you can send the answer on the back of a postcard. Whichever way you like on social media. It doesn't really matter. And then we'll tell you who's won next week, if we remember.
Yeah.
There's a high possibility that we won't remember, but
there is always that possibility.
Yes. So you're going to have to go back and listen to episode 1. And I spoke about a particular classic story. So just tell us which story that was. And we'll get out.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Right. Should we land it?
Okay, let's land it.
And do the news. First up, another one of these, what looks like a crazy daytime TV program. You know these programs I'm talking about.
A crazy,
daytime TV.
Yeah.
Where you've got these ideas where people, just basically a way for people to sort of, use their spare time up by spending money on tat, essentially. It's all the, things like bargain, these bargain hunt things where people go around car boot sales, essentially.
Yeah.
And find stuff that looks like, complete rubbish. But then there's some sort of specialist behind them saying, no, it's fine. It's worth loads of money. So it's one of those type of programs. However, it does feature a full-size Dalek.
Yeah.
So the program in question is Sell or Swap.
Now, I've not heard of this show. What channel is it on?
It's new.
Oh, it's new. So it hasn't actually...
No.
Okay, that's why I haven't heard of it.
Which is why I haven't heard of it. So, so it's a TV auction show, which is going to be out relatively soon. And it's... Yeah, so the premise of it is potential buyers, they can go to an auction and bid on items in the program. And if they didn't want to, like a standard auction works where you turn up and everyone holds the card up or their little signals, they rub their nose, whatever.
Yeah.
And, the price goes up and up and up. It's similar to that, but there's a little twist in it where if you didn't want to, if you haven't, you're not in the market to actually buy anything, but you want to get rid of something, you can take an item that you want to get rid of and you can basically do a swap.
Right.
So it's called sell or swap, where you've got several items that are just taking up space in your house, and you either want to sell it at auction, or if there's something in the auction that takes your eye, you can do a swap. Essentially, sell or swap.
Yeah, there's a clue in the title.
Yeah. Yes, that's the premise of the show. However, on one of the programs coming up in this series, somebody is selling a full-size replica Dalek in black.
It looks like Dalek Sec, doesn't it?
It does. And it looks very good, actually. Normally,
It does look good.
When you see collectors or people that have got a full-size Dalek, not all the time, but, quite a few times, they're a bit dented. They've got scuffs around the bottom. They've not been in the best shape. They might have been kept in the shed. The missus might have got the hump. I don't want that thing in here anymore. Out to the shed with it. But this one looks mint. It looks great.
It does look fantastic. It looks like a lot of work's gone into it. So, can I just take along some old bit of tat and say, I'll give you this pair of shoes. They're a bit smelly, but they've only been worn a few times for this Dalek. Or what? I assume it's got to be like of the same sort of equivalent. I mean, but what can you swap for a Dalek though? Is what I'm saying.
Well, that's the thing. You have to you have to have some common sense.
Car?
You have to have some common sense, and you have to have something of, I'm guessing anyway, sort of like an equivalent value. So you can't just turn up with a pencil sharpener and be like, let's do a trade. That's not going to work. So they think that a good quality Dalek replica, and this one actually breaks down into several parts, like the top dome bit comes off, and then the middle section that's got the egg whisk and the plunger comes off. So it breaks into 3 parts, and they think this will fetch roughly £2,000, which is pretty good. So if you've got something roughly of that value that you want to get rid of, that you just can't be asked to go through the auction process, you can just say, yep, you can have this, I'll take that.
I've got visions of us going down there with all our junk, just piling up anything we don't want, me and you. Right, let's get down there. Let's see what we can do here. Let's make a deal, because it is brilliant. He's clearly put a lot of effort into this. I mean, why does he want to get rid of it?
I don't know. It looks awesome.
Very
Very good condition.
Brilliant. Yeah.
And it's spot on as well. The build and just the way it looks is completely spot on. There's no.
It looks like you can get in it, doesn't it?
I think you can do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the company is Crook Productions, and they're looking for people who are going to put bids in before they actually film the program. So I think they want like a lineup of people ready to bid on it. And that auction's going to take place in Bristol on Tuesday, the 26th of July. So if you're interested, you should send an email to Cleo Dixie at crookproductions.com, which is CleoDixey. Cleo Dixie at crookproductions.com if you're interested.
Brilliant.
And they will get you on the program, and they'll film you doing your thing, bidding away. There we go. I'm not sure when the program's going to go out on TV, but be interested to know how much this will go for, or if anyone actually turns up with something that they think they want to trade.
That's what I was going to say. I'd like to watch this just to see what people try and trade in for it. It'd be quite interesting, I think. Yeah. Okay. In other news, I just was trying to think of things people would take. In other news, Matt Smith, he's in a play in London at the moment, which means he's doing a few press bits and bobs. And of course, inevitably, he's been asked a lot about Doctor Who. So he was in a Guardian live web chat the other day. And I think somebody phoned in and said, how could her daughter become the next Doctor? Which, of course, then started up the whole, lit the fire of the whole female Doctor debate once again. And basically, he just said it could be closer than we think. He was sort of suggesting that when Capaldi goes, the next Doctor could be a female Doctor.
Yeah. And
something that he would very much like to see. He joins Colin Baker, who's another Doctor that would very much like to see a female Doctor. Matt Smith said, I think a lady Doctor could be close. It would be fun. So practice, talk really fast, think really fast, and be really brave and mad and silly. And good luck. Maybe it will be you, he said to the
that's cool.
young age. So, yeah. Matt's, he does always come across as a really nice guy, actually, Matt.
Yes, and he also goes on to say, I'm not sure if this is sarcasm or not, not quite sure, but he went on to say he's very grateful for everything that Doctor Who has done for him. He said, it's opened more doors than it's closed. Like everything, it's a process of time. In 10 years, hopefully I'll be known for something else. Now, I'm not sure if he's being sarcastic there, or if he genuinely means that, he'll get into a franchise or something that when you think of Matt Smith, you'll think of something else other than the Doctor. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I can understand it from a work point of view, but why would you want to be known as anything else? I think to be one of the Doctors is probably one of the best things you could ever do. Do you know what I mean? It's just so iconic, and it will go down in history. It's just, I mean, I don't think there's anything better. I think that sometimes when someone does become the Doctor, it's very hard to find anything that lives up to it, is it? Because, you know, there is nothing better. But I know what he means from a word point of view.
Yeah, I think you know, when he's in his 70s and he hasn't got any work on and he's looking for money and, you know, he's hobbling around the convention circuit, yeah, he'll soon be thankful for Doctor Who then.
Yeah, I was tempted to go and try and meet him actually at the stage door. I was thinking I might go and see the play actually, because I'd like to get a photo with him. I've got a couple of autographs, but I was always denied a picture by HMV security both times I've met him, even though he was quite happy to have one. So I kind of feel like I need to get that box ticked. Okay. And I've seen a couple of people I know that have gone up and got a picture with him and said he's really nice and stuff. But apparently you do have to wait around quite a long time there because he does like to go to the bar after the show. So I don't know. I was thinking about it. I thought I might go and linger around the stage door, but I'm not sure. I think it was about 11:30 when he came out the other night, and I'd just be stuck in London. Just be like, yeah, I got a picture of Matt, but I can't get home.
Yeah. Yeah, that play is unreachable. Is that right?
Yeah. That's the one.
Yeah, it might be cool. I remember missing out on seeing David Tennant when he was doing, I think it was Richard III.
That was with Catherine Tate, wasn't it? Wasn't it the two of them?
Or was that was Much Ado About Nothing.
Oh, yes.
That was quite a few years back, yeah. But Richard III apparently was amazing. He was really good, but I missed that one. So might have to go and see Matt. Be good.
Yeah, tempted.
Yeah.
I'll see what the ticket prices are like.
Sure. Right, let's get the Daleks in. Got a little bit of merch.
A bit of merch.
Merch corner. Merch corner. Merch corner.
I don't know whether to be impressed or disgusted.
It's a bit rubbish, but it's pretty. It's very pretty.
Did you know that San Diego Comic-Con is happening right now?
Is it? I didn't know that, actually, no.
Yeah. Oh. So this time of year, essentially, the whole world just goes mad for 4 or 5 days. Whenever you hear the term Comic-Con, and it's not prefixed with anything like London Film and Comic-Con or New York Comic-Con, that generally means you're talking about the mothership of all Comic-Cons, which is the San Diego Comic-Con. And it's essentially 4 or 5 days where every major film and TV franchise and video game franchise just gets together in San Diego and just blows the roof off in one 4-day massive media party. Basically.
Sounds good, doesn't it?
Yes. And what they normally do is we have like 1 million exclusives that are labelled as SDCC exclusive. If we think back over the last couple of years, we've had quite a few of the Doctor Who Pop Funkos that have been the San Diego Comic-Con exclusives. You get the little sticker on the box and all that jazz. So there's been a couple of things that have come out already for Doctor Who. From Comic-Con. I'm not sure if they're Comic-Con exclusives or they've just been announced at Comic-Con. But at the moment, it's just kitchenware, which is relatively boring.
Yeah.
But anyways, if you want a massive mug with a cool sort of Shakespearean TARDIS design on the front, you'll be able to get one very soon. So a 64-ounce mug, which is huge. If you look at the picture, if you click a link from the show notes, it's absolutely massive.
It's huge.
So if you like your cup of tea, if you like a bucket of tea as opposed to a mug of tea, this is up your street. And it looks really nice, actually. It's got just the TARDIS on the front. It's got like these nice old Edwardian or Shakespearean sort of style lettering with like on a flag or a banner, whatever. And it says TARDIS at the top and time and relative dimensioning, So the design is very, very nice.
What does it say on the Dalek bit? Because my eyes can't see it from here. There's like a Dalek wrapped in some lettering, but I can't see what it says.
Yeah, it says destroy the TARDIS.
Oh, that's nice.
So nice as always. But it does look very nice. So like I said, if you like a big mug of tea, then go for that. And then there's also released some Christmas Doctor Who mugs as well.
Christmas.
So if you can think back to some of the really oh, that's not the right word. I was going to say atrocious Christmas jumpers that have been out over the years for Doctor Who. This is in exactly the same style. It looks like a knitted pattern that goes around the mugs, and they've got like a little TARDIS and a weeping angel and a Dalek and stuff. They do look quite nice, but they look very small, especially in comparison to the massive 64-ounce mug that you can also buy.
I was thinking we could do one of these today, couldn't we? Because it's so hot. I was just thinking I could do one of these just filled with water. Because I've got 2 pint glasses next to me filled with water to keep me going for the show. You've normally got a massive jam jar, is it?
Yeah.
Have you got a jam jar today? Or
No, just the standard.
Just the standard glass tumbler.
Glass, yeah.
But yeah, it'd be good if we had these. I think these could last the whole show if we had one of these each week, because they are big.
They are quite big, yes.
How much are they? Perhaps we'll get one for Christmas.
They're not out in the UK as yet. You can get them over in the US. Yeah, they're $16. So what's that? A tenner?
That's not much, is it?
Not too bad. Yeah, so if you need a new mug for your tea or whatever you'd like to drink, they should be able to be up for order very soon.
Yeah.
In the
so
UK.
Shane,
Anyway.
so are we expecting some more announcements later for this? You think?
Yeah, normally with Comic-Con, they stuff just gets announced, it seems like, every hour over the 3 or 4 days that it's on for mainly. But that's normally like the really big franchises that are there, so like DC Comics and the Marvel stuff and Star Wars, all that lot. So I'm not sure on Doctor Who. I'm not sure. I mean, there have been some really big Doctor Who events at Comic-Con in the past. If you have a search on YouTube, you'll be able to find David Tennant, Russell T Davies and John Barrowman at Comic-Con at a massive packed out stage.
I've seen that, yeah.
Yeah, talking about upcoming stuff. So it just depends on how big your presence is at that year that you're there. So I'm really not sure how much they're going to push Doctor Who this year.
Yeah, because there's not much else on the merch side, is it? The only other thing that's exciting me out at the minute, which I haven't got my dirty little hands on yet, is these B&M sets, exclusives of the 3 Doctor figures, which have just started to come into the shops. And I went to B&M yesterday, my local one. They didn't have them, and I spoke to a woman on the phone the other day. It was incredibly rude. She was just like, she was so condescending, and she didn't like the fact that I knew what I was talking about and she didn't, and she got really prickly with me on the phone. So I haven't had any joy getting these, but I have seen people who have. And to be honest, there's 3 sets, but the one that I've got my eye on is the one with John Pertwee, Katie Manning, and and Roger Delgado Master in one box, and they're normally really well priced as well. Normally about $14.99. So that's the only other thing that's just come out that I'm trying to get my hands on.
Okay, yeah.
So I get really jealous. I just saw that a couple of people we know have got it. Like Ben Lett, the host productions, has just done a video on it, and I was like, I can't watch it till I've got it. I can't watch it till I've got that in my collection. So hopefully my useless, rude store will get it in soon.
They do look quite nice, actually.
Yeah, what's the other one? There's a Tennant set, isn't there? So there's a 10th Doctor one with what's he got? He's got a Cyberman and something else. It's not River, is it? Or is it an Ashtabada?
I don't know.
And the other one is an Ice Warrior.
Oh, it's a yeah.
Is it an Ashtabada?
Ashtabada, yeah, and Cyberman.
Cyberman, yeah. And what's the other one? An Ice Warrior.
Ice Warrior and a Zygon.
Zygon and Cyberman. Yeah. So they're nice little sets. I mean, I know you probably won't pick these up because you're not really into the figures as such, are you? But
not really. I mean, I like the Pertwee and Delgado set with Katie Manning. Yeah, that looks quite good. Sorry. Yeah, that looks quite good. Maybe that one, but I do like the little Zygon geezer.
He's good.
He looks
actually
very nice. Yeah.
Yeah. They've repainted him, but I have got like the early version I did of him, and he's quite a good figure actually. He'd look good on your shelf.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, if you could get one, get it.
If you can get hold of them.
Yeah, if you can find them. Yeah. But that's it. There isn't much merch, is there, at the minute?
No, I mean, yeah. So keep your eyes on Twitter and stuff for the Comic-Con bits. I imagine there might be a couple more exclusive knocking about. I'm fully expecting the Pop Funko guys to announce something. They normally do. Yeah. That's going to do for merch. So, Adam, Jamie!
Gary!
Oh, no!
Oh, no! Oh.
I say, Adam, what are we reviewing this week?
This week it can only be the second Doctor classic, The War Games.
What did he mean, Doctor? Who mustn't you call?
The only people who can put an end to this whole ghastly business and send everyone back to their own times. The Time Lords.
Who are they?
They're my own people, Jamie.
Oh, well, that's all right then.
But it isn't all right, is it, Doctor?
No, it's not, Zoe. But I'm afraid there's no alternative.
What's he doing?
Don't do it, Doctor. You can't! You know what will happen! Yes, I am all right.
Doctor, what's that?
It's a box, Jamie.
I know, I can see that.
It's a very special sort of box. It now contains all the information about what's been going on here and an appeal for help.
Help? Who from?
The Time Lords?
Yes, Zoe.
Well, why haven't you asked them for help before?
I've never really needed it before, Jamie, but this business of sending everyone back to their own times is, well, it's too difficult for me now. Now, come along.
The War Chief!
What?
He's gone!
What?
He must be trying to get away before the Time Lords get here.
What are we going to do, Doctor?
We must go to the landing bay and stop him!
I do love that little scene. That cube bit reminds me of the Doctor's wife. You know, when the Doctor receives a cube, sort of like a thought cube or whatever they're called in that.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of that the Doctor puts his like message in a cube and sends it out. That's nice. Nice little scene, that.
The War Games. 10 episodes.
10 big ones.
Yep. Back in 1969.
Wow.
It went out April, in fact. This was a follow-on from the... this was a follow-on from a story that I'm quite gutted that we haven't got the episodes for, the Space Pirates.
Well, I don't know, because I think there is a surviving episode of it, and it's pretty hard going from what I remember.
Well, do you know what? The story sounds very good, though.
Does it? Okay, yeah. I guess it might be like The Enemy of the World, when we used to have just one episode or whatever of that, and it was like the worst episode from the series, and the rest of it was brilliant. Maybe the Space Pirates is the same.
I think so. I think that sounds like a really good story. It's a shame they've only got one story. But anyway, Space Pirates sounds good. So the War Games, though, right before the brilliant Spearhead from Space.
Yes.
So if you're in the mood for some classic Who, second and third Doctor, this will be the one. If you've got the time, if you can watch this one followed by Spearhead, you're in for a great treat.
I was just looking to see, because you mentioned when this aired, so this was sort of April to June 1969, and then Spearhead from Space is January 1970, I think, isn't it?
That's right, yep.
So, because it amazes me, the difference in style, production. Obviously, we're in colour with Spearhead, but it just, the sort of advancement in the making of a TV show and the way it's filmed is so different between these two stories. And they're not that far apart, are they? You know, because you think of the War Games, it's very much shot in that 60s style, very much, you know, and then you get to like the Spearhead from Space, and it's just almost like it feels much more modern and, you know, much more. Yeah, it just always amazes me that they sort of follow each other because they are so different.
A lot happens in that 6 months of, because the last episode of the War Games goes out at the end of June, and then Spearhead from Space goes out the 3rd of Jan. So it's literally like pretty much 6 months between them. But they're very different.
The pacing and everything, though, isn't it? It's just so much more in the modern style of TV.
Yeah. Very cool.
But anyway, The War Games.
The War Games, written by Terence Dix and Malcolm Houck. Am I saying that right? Hulk. Directed by David Maloney.
Mm-hmm.
Overseen by Terence Dix, who sorted the script out, but he's uncredited.
Yeah, he did a lot of that, I think. A lot of sorting out, Terence.
A lot of sorting, a lot of filing.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of difficult to know where to start with this one because there's so much content over 10 episodes, obviously.
I know for a fact that I'm not going to know any of the characters' names. So I kept thinking all the way through. There's the cast list for this is just immense, isn't it?
Yeah,
I was thinking, Anyway,
I'm exactly the same. I probably won't remember the names of specific characters. All I know is a lot of characters do a lot of shouting.
Yes,
it's a very shouty episode where there's a lot of sort of highly strung characters, very tense, and yes, a lot of shouting going on. But the supporting cast list is pretty huge. I mean, rightly so as well. I mean, it spans over several time zones, several locations. Yeah. There's quite a bit going on. So overall, mate, what did you reckon to what do you think to this as a story and a Doctor Who? If it wasn't 10 episodes, if you just watched it, back to back, what do you reckon as a classic story?
I think it is exactly that, a classic story. I think it's a great send off for Pat. I think it is adventurous being 10 parts. I don't think it was originally planned to be, was it? I think they kind of had to stretch it out for various reasons. I think it might have been originally planned to be a 6-parter, which would have been better because although I think it still flows along really nicely considering it is 10 parts, I do think there is quite a lot of padding. There's a lot of escape capture going on.
Yes.
But I think I think if it had been a 6-parter, it obviously would have been much tighter and it would have been just brilliant. But I still think it's brilliant. I really, really like this one. Yeah. What about just yourself?
Yeah. Yeah.
Too much for you?
I love it, mate.
Oh, phew. Yeah.
I love it. It's one of those stories that is so cleverly written, beautifully acted, and it's just it's one of those stories that pulls you in.
Yes,
it's like you're on the other end of a rope, and you're being softly, gently, sort of pulled in one direction, and as you're getting pulled, you're like, I quite like this, and then you think, well, I've got to go make a cup of tea. No, hold on. I'll wait till the end. And you go make a cup of tea and you're like, I'll watch the rest later. No, let's watch another one now. So we just keep going and we keep going. And yeah, like I said earlier, I watched 5 episodes and I could have gone on a bit longer, to be honest with you. I could have maybe watched like 6 and 7, but I really did have to go and pick up the boy from school. If I couldn't let, Mr. Ray, look, you haven't come to collect your son yet. Yeah, I'm busy.
I'm watching the war games.
I'll be there later. Yeah, so I literally had to stop and go and do boring family everyday stuff. But it's although it does have a lot of padding in there, and
it's good padding, isn't it?
It's good padding in a way. Yeah, I mean, like you say, it could have been easily a good 6-parter. Quite easily, they could have done away with quite a few things, but it just, I don't know, it's just one of those stories that I felt it's just a really nice watch each episode. You're just intrigued as to where the story is going to progress from here, and it's a realistic sort of you're looking forward to it realistically as well. That it's like a slow burner, if you like. So that episode to episode, there's not going to be these massive plot twists and stuff like that. That it's a really long story, but it's just like you're steadily climbing a mountain.
They just give you little bits, don't they?
Yes.
Each episode gives you a little bit more of what's going on as well. Yeah.
So you're not like hiking up Everest, and you're knackered at the end of it. It's just a really nice casual walk. But then once you get to the top of the mountain, it's like that achievement of like, yes, I've got through 10 episodes. And that was actually very good. I really enjoyed it. So it's that kind of mindset for me. It's like a marathon rather than a sprint.
Yeah.
Whereas like, modern Doctor Who, 45 minutes, 50 minutes, it's all out, action sometimes and pacing. This is a lot more refined. I think is the word.
I was the same as you, actually, funny enough, because I planned to watch sort of 2 episodes each day. And I think I said to you last week, I'm going to start it this week and then finish it next week, sort of spread it out.
Yeah.
And I did exactly the same thing. I put in disc 1, which has got 5 episodes on, and I watched all 5 in a go because I just got to the end and thought, I'll just watch one more. I'll watch 3, not 2. And then I got to the end of the third. I thought, actually, I may as well watch the other 2 because, I was the same as you. And then I thought, right, I'll leave it there. I could have quite happily moved on to disc 2.
Yeah.
And I saved it for this week. And I'm kind of glad, actually, because it was... But I was genuinely sort of looking forward to carrying on the story.
Yeah.
I kept thinking, it's not a chore. It's amazing, actually, that they managed to make a 10-episode story be so enjoyable to watch. It does just carry you along,
Yeah.
It's quite an achievement, really.
Yeah. And I can think of a couple of other classic Doctor Who stories that are 6-parters. And at the end of episode 3, I just looked like a person staked out in the desert with vultures, chipping away at my face, thinking, how long is this going to bloody go on for?
Yeah.
So it is an achievement, and that's a testament to Terrance Dicks and Malcolm Hulke, because it's just a lovely, well-written piece of science fiction. It's just got classic written all over it at every turn, really.
The actual storyline as well, the idea behind the whole War Games is great, isn't it? It's a very simple story, but what a great idea.
Yeah.
Of having all these different fractions fighting, and it turns out that they're not in different time zones, and it's very, very, it's a great story.
Yeah.
In terms of the script.
Yeah, and I think it was, in my opinion, I think it was ahead of its time at the time. Because if you think about some of the aspects around just the Doctor's character, it's the first time that we see the Time Lords in Classic Who. Is that right?
Yeah.
It's the first time that we see those.
First time they mentioned, yeah.
First time they mentioned. First time the Doctor interacts with the Time Lords. The first time that we see the Time Lords in a way that maybe people hadn't have thought about them before, because we don't really know. And we also get the conversation where the Doctor's having the Doctor converses with what's his name, the War Chief.
Yeah, there's the War Chief, the War Lord.
Yeah, so the War Chief, the guy with the crazy beard.
Mm.
They actually have a conversation about him, being bored on Gallifrey, wanting to see more of the world, didn't want to just sit there and observe, so stealing a TARDIS and running away. That's stuff that we take for granted now. But if you think about back in the day, like watching that, thinking, holy moly, we get into an insight into why the Doctor is this the crazy old dude traveling almost running away across the universe from the Time Lords, just trying to do anything but sit there and be bored on Gallifrey and just do nothing but watch the universe. He wants to be in the thick of it and see what's going on. So some very monumentous, plot details in the story. And it's that this is really like setting, this is like one of the benchmarks, if you like, to how you do a very good Time Lord story, with the Time Lords and that stuff. Because we've seen, especially in modern Doctor Who, where, the Time Lords have been a little bit, at times they've kind of wishy-washy with their purpose and how they view the Doctor and so on. In this story, they're very cold almost. They have these little nice sort of hearty moments where they allow Jamie and Zoe to go and see the Doctor before he's has his verdict on his little trial. They're quite warm-hearted in these little moments, but overall they're very cold and very, politically and by the book, and quite harsh to the Doctor as well. That's one of the things that really stood out for me, was these very big moments within the story that if you were watching it back in the day as a Doctor Who fan, you'd be like, whoa, this is great stuff. We're getting to see an insight into the Doctor's background and all that. So
Yeah, and then they do it quite well, don't they? Because they just give you enough, but not too much, because they don't sort of give away all the Doctor's backstory.
No.
They still keep the mystery of this, the Doctor, but they just give you some little tidbits that we've not had to now. And if you think this is series 6, isn't it, of Doctor Who? So so we get all the way to series 6 before we really start to even delve into his character to this extent. Anyway, that's quite good going. But I just love the fact that they don't go overboard with it. They don't sort of tell us too much. They just give us a little bit to go on of why because he sort of brushes over it, doesn't he, as well, the Doctor, when Zoe says, why did you run away, Doctor? Like, what was the reason? And he's just like, oh, I just got bored, and he sort of brushes it off as well. So they don't go overboard in giving us too much information, which I really liked. Yeah, I love the Time Lords in this. They're almost like headmasters or teachers, or that authoritarian sort of, very sort of moralistic, and there's no messing with them either. I'll tell you what I love is they're so calm, but it's almost quite chilling, because that they mean business, don't they? Even though they're so calm in the way they do it, there's no messing with them. I think they're really good in this.
Really cool.
Yeah,
and we also have this bit where they're on the. Where are they? Where the War Chief and the Warlord are? It's in
Well, that's the bit I've always got a little bit confused by, because we've got like this planet, alien planet, haven't we? When they've taken lots of different people out of different wars, so that they can monitor them to build like the ultimate, band of, what do I mean? The ultimate army.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, they want to build the ultimate army so they can conquer the world. So they've sort of taken different sort of people out of different time zones to see how they fought the war, to sort of use that to build the ultimate army. And that in itself is a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
So that. I'm not sure, is that happening on a different planet to where they go and they're sort of watching it? Because they mainly talk to each other through monitors, don't they? Until they actually use the TARDIS to get there. So presumably they're on a different place. Yeah,
I think it looks like a space station.
Yeah, I was going to say, it does have that look about it. Yeah.
So there's a bit when they're on this space station and the Doctor and the War Chief first see each other, and in that moment their facial expressions are like, it's you, and then we get that confirmation, don't we? Because one of the guys who's the security chief, the smallish guy with the glasses, he's been sort of very suspicious of the War Chief, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Because that's another thing, is there's another race of people as well that the Warlord and the War Chief have sort of taken over, if you like, and they're using them and their sort of advanced technology to make all this happen. And they suspect the War Chief that he's up to no good. And so when episodes 2 and 3, when those conversations are happening between those two, we do get like a little, like you say, a little nugget of info. Like, is he a Time Lord? This War Chief guy, is he from Gallifrey? Is he a Time Lord? Because the security chief is. We're not saying that because we can't remember their names. That is just their title in the story. They don't have names. It literally is just the War Chief or the security chief. So that he's saying, like, is he a Time Lord? We don't know, because the security chief is saying, this Doctor is from. He has like space and time technology. He's very much like your people. So they sort of tease you a little bit. And then when that bit where the guards and everyone, confront the Doctor and stuff, and the War Chief and the Doctor see each other, and you can see in their face, it's like, it's you. Yeah. I recognise you. And I know
you.
Yeah. So then you're like, yes, he's a Time Lord as well. And then that's another thing that you haven't seen in Doctor Who before. We haven't seen any other Time Lords doing their thing. It's just a really cool little addition. And then later on, obviously, the War Chief is like, you've changed your appearance, but I know it's you.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. And then we had this whole thing like, yes, they're definitely
another great scene.
Another good scene. Yeah.
He's presumably been helping them build all these TARDISes as well, hasn't he? Because they've got. Do you know the bit I love as well, and I'd forgotten about until I rewatched this? Is that He's got the technology, but he hasn't quite got it right because all the TARDISes have got like a shelf life, haven't they?
That's right.
So they work, but only for so long. And I thought that's a nice little idea as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So they use the proper TARDIS sound effect for when they materialise and dematerialise as well. And they're a nice design as well. They're just these big cubes, aren't they?
Very simple, yeah.
And
nice.
like a bit sort of protrudes out and then you walk in. So very, very cool production design on this as well. Right. I'm really not sure where to go with this on a review because there's so much to talk. I'm not really sure we're going to get all of this in, but there's so much to talk about. But let's talk about some of the stuff that happens on this planet, which they think is Earth. So we have these different time zones, don't we? And the one that we spend most time in is the 1917 time zone, which is like the very early British soldiers. And there's a guy who's brainwashing all the soldiers, isn't he? They're going round in like this giant loop, aren't they? Where they're fighting the German soldiers. And he's wiping their memory and he's brainwashing them into just, continually going through the motions of war.
Yeah.
But they start to get their memories back a little bit. So one of the characters that we get introduced to quite early on is the female medic soldier.
Yeah, the ambulance driver.
Yeah, what's her name? Her name was...
Lady Jennifer.
Lady Jennifer, yes. And
Lady Jennifer Buckingham, sorry, to give her a full title. Yeah.
It's very posh, isn't it?
Mm.
And so she captures the Doctor, sort of. She agrees to take him somewhere, and then they get captured by the Germans, and they recapture... Then they capture the Germans, and we end up on the base. And then I think is it General Smythe?
Smythe is, I love Smythe.
Smythe, yeah. He's
puts the glasses on.
Yeah, so he's the guy that's running the show in this particular war zone.
Yeah.
And his character was quite good, actually. He was very...
I liked him, yeah. I love the fact he just, whenever he needs to sort of... It's a bit like the Master with his hypnotism, isn't it? He puts these glasses on and he's like... No, you will believe everything I say. And it's like, I thought he was quite good.
It's a bit like, look in the eyes, not around the eyes, in the eyes.
Yeah.
And you do your thing. It's a bit like that. It happens quite a lot, doesn't it? And it's, so he brainwashes people when they start to, like latch onto something like that isn't quite right. Why are we doing this? Because he just wants to eradicate the Doctor and Jamie and Zoe, doesn't he? Because when they bring them to the base, he just doesn't want anything to go wrong. So he's like, right, we're going to put you on court-martial, you're going to be trialed. And then he brainwashes them all to like have the Doctor executed.
That scene sort of it's quite amusing because of the way they do it, but it's also really harsh, isn't it? It's a really well-written and well-acted little scene, that, because Troughton manages to bring in humour even though he's actually being sentenced to death.
True.
Yeah, because he sort of asks their opinion, doesn't he, Smythe? He's like, what do you think? And then actually, before they can answer, he tells them
he
what
puts
they
the glasses
think.
on and he's like...
It's really funny. But yeah, it shouldn't be because they're about to be executed.
Yeah, so that time zone is where most of the stuff happens.
Yeah.
Under General Smythe. But then a couple of other people, they sort of get their memory back. Lady Jennifer. Who's the other guy? Lieutenant someone or...
Oh, I'm not sure.
Carstairs, Lieutenant
Carstairs, yeah.
They sort of rebel, don't they? They get their memories back. They start to know what's going on, and then they rebel.
That's quite good because little things trigger it, don't they? Again, that's a great bit of writing. Just every now and again, something will trigger them to realise that what they're doing is not right because they can't. Yeah, they're just kind of brainwashed, aren't they? Yeah.
And then we have these other time zones as well that we see briefly throughout the story. So we have the old wild, we have the really old Civil War, the US Civil War period, don't we? Where we have the North and the South American Civil War soldiers.
Yeah.
And it's within that time zone that we find out about the Resistance. So there's been some other people like Lady Jennifer and Carstairs where they've got their memory back and, the brainwashing doesn't work on them anymore. So they've sort of put together a little band of Resistance fighters who are, trying to come up with a plan to defeat what's going on. And they know about what happens as well. When you get too far to the edge of the time zone, there's this mist that descends and then you disappear and then you end up in another one. So they know what's going on, don't they? They can see, what's happened and everything.
Well, that's the bit I loved as well, because I think perhaps the first time you're watching it, you're assuming when they go into that mist, you think they're going through time. Well, they are going through time zones, but they're all kind of all linked, aren't they?
They're linked up, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like a sort of gateway to another time.
Yeah.
All on one planet. It's a brilliant idea.
Yeah. And then we have, within the 1917 time zone where the British soldiers, there's also obviously the German camp as well, in that same time zone where the Doctor and the companions end up ultimately. And they get quizzed by this guy with...
the guy with the monocle and the scar?
The guy with the beard. I think he's lieutenant. The guy with the monocle, he's like the equivalent of General Smythe, but then there's another guy beneath him that does a lot of interrogation. You know, when the Doctor gets his sonic screwdriver out.
Oh, yeah.
And shows him the screw coming out of the gun. So there's that guy who's got a somewhat German accent who's interrogating him. So all this, so it's the thing that's quite good about this story is that there's a lot of familiarity. Yeah, blah, blah. There's a lot of familiarity. Familiarity. No,
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of familiarity. Oh my God.
There's a lot of familiarity. I can't say it either.
The thing that I like about this story is that there's a lot of familiarity.
Yeah.
Familiarity, yeah. So from each his own. So, and that's what almost guides you through the story, because you're like, this is all happening to these people as well, but they don't know it. They don't know that, 10 miles away down the road, you go through this sort of time gate, you end up in another time zone, and exactly the same thing is happening over there. So there's this familiar sort of story arc that sort of goes on, which all happens on this planet, and then up in this, it must be a space station near somewhere, because...
Or is it because they say about them, I'm just thinking now, because they talk about it all when they draw the lines, the zones, and then they say something about it being in the middle, don't they? But I'm not sure now.
Oh, you could be right then, yeah.
But then again, they use the TARDIS to get there, don't they? So maybe they're in the middle on one planet. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Anyway, wherever this base is, whatever. And I guess that's the premise for the story. Once you know about these time zones and this group of soldiers in each time zone, you then have this sort of cat and mouse thing going on, which is where the padding really comes in. I guess over the 10 episodes, where the Doctor and the companions get captured. Then they escape, then they get captured. Then they escape and get captured by a different time zone. And then they escape, and then they get captured again, and then they escape. So we have this sort of to-in and throw-in throughout, probably between episodes 2 and 7.
Yeah.
I would say you have a lot of that, where you think, right, especially when the Doctor's going to get executed, you're like, wow, his time's up. But then they escape, and then, end up getting captured. So there's a lot of to and throw, and I think for me that was it as well, where I felt mainly they could have chopped out a couple of episodes there.
Yeah, definitely could have. I mean, there's no doubt about it. As I said, it's thankfully the padding that is in there is still really watchable. I didn't find myself thinking, oh, come on, how much longer is left of this episode? That's one thing I will say about it, even though it's clear that they are playing for time, clearly filling out the episode a bit. Didn't you just love it that the Doctor uses his sonic screwdriver to undo a screw? And the guy's absolutely amazed by it, isn't he? It's like he's never seen anything like it. I was thinking, can you imagine him doing that today? Kids of today would be like, so what? Yeah. they wouldn't be as impressed as that soldier, would they?
He's undoing a screw.
Yeah. Wow. Mate is like, oh wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's like,
you should see what it does in. You should see what it does in 2015.
And it's a good effect actually as well. The way they do it is obviously it's someone from underneath the table.
Yeah,
with an electric screwdriver making it go the other way, but it's a really good effect. It's very good. So the good thing, like you say, it's good padding, because the conversations that happens between the Doctor and certain people, and the locations that they go to, they're out in a field, then they're back in the barracks, then they're out, in a back of an army van driving along these cool sort of country roads, then they're in a big mansion house somewhere where General Smythe is. So it's a lot of back and forth, but it's good. And sorry, go on.
No, yeah, you just made me think. I think maybe that is why it works so well, actually, because even though it's padding, I think it's on the go padding, isn't it? You're right. They're always moving around and going somewhere and doing something. So even though, it's not just all contained in one place, actually, which is probably why it works as well as it does, actually. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that much before, but that'll be why. Yeah,
and then we get interjected into that stuff is we get the whole war chief and warlord and those guys, everything that's happening there, that sort of gets injected into the story as we're going through this process as well. So not only do you have the Doctor going back and forth, captured, escaping, moving to different parts, you've also got this other storyline where you're not quite sure what's going on there. There's like some internal politics between the war chief and the security chief, and who's the warlord? We don't see him for a few episodes. What's going on?
No, he doesn't come into it till is it midway through, or maybe even episode?
I think it's
5.
I think it's episode 5, or 6 maybe.
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff is spoon fed, little bits as you go along, which is it's a combination of all those things that make the 10 episodes worth the watch.
Because I think when you say to someone about watching this that hasn't seen it, they might think 10 episodes. What? Oh, no, I don't know about that. Yeah. It's definitely going to put a few people off watching it. But I think if you love Doctor Who, if you love classic Doctor Who, I think you'd be surprised how well this flows along. Because 10 episodes does sound long. It sounds like you've got to have a bit of time on your hands. But yeah, I think if you haven't seen it, don't be put off, because it really does flow along nicely. Probably it is worth breaking it up a little bit. But I think a lot of people would be like us. They'd probably think, I'll watch the first couple and end up watching, the whole first disc, because you do sort of want to know what happens next. I think in this, it feels epic as well. Well, the start does anyway. Really, the first few episodes feel really epic to me. I love all the location stuff at the beginning and all the war scenes and the explosions, and it really feels there's something about, I love seeing the Second Doctor on real locations, just seeing the TARDIS land, and quite an unusual choice to see it land. We see the reflection land in a puddle.
That's right.
And I was thinking that's a nice idea, like just something different rather than just having it plonk down or in a rainbow like we see in Dynamite. But I thought that was a lovely little simple idea to do something different.
Yeah, it's great. Don't be put off by location. Yeah, don't be put off by the 10 episodes.
No.
Yeah, don't think, oh my crikey, there's no way I can sit through that. Honestly, it's every episode has got something in there that's a big contribution to the overall story. Yes, there is an argument to say that this could comfortably be a good 6-parter.
Well, it could.
There is an argument to say that, absolutely. And I think if it was a 6-parter, it would probably be better off for it, I would say. However, just because it's 10, don't think, I haven't got the time. Because once you start watching it, you'll be like, 4 episodes in, you'll be like, wow, where's the time gone?
I know when we announced
no pun intended.
Oh, yeah. I guess I know when we announced this last week, one of our listeners, Sammy Satine, sort of posted on our Facebook, didn't she, saying, "Oof, God, crikey, 10 episodes. Not sure about this, but I'll give it a go." So I'll be really interested to see what she made of it, because obviously I take it from her comment she hadn't watched it before, and she was clearly daunted by the fact it was 10 episodes, and I think a lot of people would be if they haven't seen it before. So it'd be interesting when we get to the comments later. Hopefully she enjoyed it, but we'll see.
Yeah, and the way to look at it is like your own little mini series for the Second Doctor. It's like things that we've seen like in the past over the years. So things like Trial of a Time Lord, The Key to Time. Those things that are like their own little contained stories, their own little series. This is like that. It's like your own little Troughton series, if you like. So especially if you're a fan of the Second Doctor, I imagine you've seen it already, but if you haven't, it's definitely worth sitting through the 10 episodes. So yeah, I mean, story-wise, that's pretty much it in terms of story. The Doctor's essentially trying to stop the war chief and the warlord from using all these soldiers, brainwashing them and so on. And at the same time, we have these other people like the security chief and the chief scientist. These guys are developing the technology, this sort of Time Lord technology to sort of, build these TARDISes and, help to erase people's minds, and all that stuff is all going on. And ultimately the Doctor and Jamie and Zoe, they managed to stop all that. And, the Doctor just finds a bit of an unhappy end, really.
Yeah.
He's very not happy. I mean, we'll come on to that scene, a bit later, but yeah, that's essentially the story. There's a lot of cat and mouse, a lot of capturing and escaping and action and stuff going on. And then sort of the last act is really the Doctor really sort of putting a nail in a coffin and stopping the whole thing with the help of the Time Lords. But then he comes to a bit of an end that he's not extremely happy about.
I like that because it builds up, doesn't it? It gets to the point where the Doctor's got no choice but to call the Time Lords in, basically. He says, I can't really put all this right. As great as I am, sort of thing, I can't, I'd love to be able to solve it like I normally do, but this one's too big for me. So I'm going to have to call in the big guns, even though it means, I'm going to get a slapped wrist, basically.
That's it, isn't it? It's like a kid at school that knows he's going to get detention for telling a teacher something, but it's for the good.
He's got to do it.
Something else. He's got a grass on someone. He knows he's going to get in trouble because he's involved a little bit as well, but it's for the greater good.
Yeah, and you kind of feel he knew that at some point this would happen. You sort of, he almost, the way Troughton plays it, you sort of think he's had a good run. He's had a good run of it. He's had some fun, but he knew at some point he would have to go back and face them. And this, this time has come. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Let's talk about some cast members because we're going to run out of time.
Where do we start?
I was going to say, we could probably talk about this for
10 episodes.
10 episodes of the podcast. We really could. But some cast members who stood out. So General Smythe, he was like the ruthless army general.
I liked him.
He was good, wasn't he? He had I'm pretty sure he showed up in an episode of Red Dwarf years later.
Really?
Yeah, I'm sure he played like the old cat king or cat whatever. But I recognised the massive sideburns that I think he still had years later. But right on point, his character. You immediately bought into this ruthless, cold-hearted, sort of unforgiving general. And what was good was that you were immediately like, what's he up to? Because he's very secretive, wasn't he? He like absolutely went mad at people when they barged in without knocking, because he had like the secret screen behind the painting. And
I love that. The monitor.
Yeah. So like we said earlier, this story throughout every episode up until like the final two, it sort of drip fed you like these little nuggets of story that you think, what's going on here? What's he about? So this guy, Noel Coleman, absolutely nailed this part.
He's got the look as well, hasn't he? He's got that sort of slightly shifty look about him. Yeah, I thought he was very good casting. I liked the way he played it a lot. Didn't go over the top.
No, that's the thing. Yeah, he didn't. Yeah. One thing I will say about this story is that although there's a lot of shouting, the only person really that sort of borderlines on a little bit theatre is the War Chief.
Yes, I thought you were going to say someone else, actually. Yes, you are right about the War Chief. I was doing, people couldn't see it, but I was doing I thought you were going to say the Mexican.
Oh, the Mexican with
the
pistols.
At the end, I did think of you. I bet you were laughing when he was, he really gets into his part, that guy. He does go over the top. But no, you're right, in terms of main cast.
Yeah, the War Chief, who turns out to be a Gallifreyan Time Lord. He's extremely shouty.
He's a bit hammy. He's Mr. Meeker from Rent-A-Ghost. Do you remember Rent-A-Ghost?
Yep.
I used to love that because I kept thinking all the way through, that's Mr. Meeker, that is.
Yeah.
He'll have a sausage under his nose in a minute.
He was very good though. He was a lot of the characters, they never ever broke character in this. I mean, there's not much in a way of light-hearted story in this one. I think you'll agree. It's very tense.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tension between a lot of the supporting cast, especially between the warlord, the war chief, and the other security and scientist guys. A lot of tension. So there's a lot of yelling at each other, even though they're standing just 2 feet away. They're absolutely bellowing in each other's face. That real old school British accent as well. The old school broadcaster sort of.
Yeah.
So the war chief, another great character, was a little bit theatre.
A little bit hammy, but and he looks a bit sort of Flash Gordon villain with his big hair and beard and stuff. But he's somehow quite. I was going to say likable. He's not likable in his character, but he is fun to watch. Let's put it that way.
That's a good point. Actually, it is a bit Flash Gordon, isn't it?
He does remind me of a bit of a Flash Gordon villain.
Like Ming the Ming.
Ming.
Yeah. So he was very good. Some of the people that get introduced to early on, quite good. Lady Jennifer, Lieutenant Carsters, they were quite good because they end up staying on for pretty much the entire story, along with the Doctor, don't they? They go through a similar thing that they go through, where they get captured and brainwashed and then escape, and then they get captured again. So they go through a similar thing that the Doctor and the companions have to go through, and they help the Doctor out quite a lot. I mean, there's a couple of scenes where they get brainwashed and they agree to have him executed, and there's another bit where they try and shoot him. But other than that, they do help him quite a lot. And I think if it wasn't, especially for Lieutenant Carsters, I think if it wasn't for him, they probably wouldn't have made it to the end.
Yeah, true.
Because he helps them escape. He shoots a load of people that are trying to shoot at them. He has a couple of good fisticuff fights, all in the name of trying to sort out what's going on. They completely trust the Doctor at this point.
Yeah.
So he was really good, actually. I really liked. He didn't really play up too much. It wasn't much in a way of, serious acting chops, I would say. He just plays it as the script was written. But he was good, though. Carsters was very good. And Lady Jennifer, she was quite good. She was a little bit damsel in distressy at times, but she was good.
Yeah, both good.
Both good. Right, let's talk about the War Chief, the Warlord.
The Warlord, Philip Maddock.
Philip Maddock, who's no stranger to classic Who at all.
No. I always forget he was in. Is it the Crotons? Though, what's it? Because there's one that I always forget he's in. Because I always think of him as obviously in the brain of Morbius as Solon. I always think of that. But he did a few. He's done a few, didn't he? What other ones did he do? So because there is one, he did the Power of Kroll, which I'm not a fan of.
The Crotons, wasn't it?
It was the Crotons, yeah. Crotons, War Games, Morbius, and Power of Kroll, and also he's in the Peter Cushing movie. Do you remember him in that? He's the one who gets blown to pieces in the shed by the Daleks. Yeah, he betrays them, doesn't he? He's a very nasty piece of work in that. But I think Philip Maddock is such a good actor. I really like him. I think he does really well to be menacing, considering he's got those big goggle glasses on that make his eyes look massive.
He's a great actor.
He's superb. Yeah. He's really, really chilling. Especially in the trial scene at the end, where he really just doesn't give a what, does he? He's just stood there as cool as a cucumber. He's like, you can't touch me. He's superb. I really like him. If anything, he was a little bit underused, actually, if anything, in this, because I think he's great. Yeah,
he was brilliant in this, and he played it in a way that I'm really happy that he played it this way, because that was an opportunity for that character to easily be like a real cheesy villain.
Yeah, exactly.
But the way that he played it was like the complete other end of the spectrum, where just cool, collected the whole time. And I think he only raised his voice a couple of times.
I was going to say, he's one of those villains that does that thing of he doesn't need to shout to be evil. He's just simmers.
Yeah, He had a sort of quiet authority where he didn't need. I think he did raise his voice a couple of times, but that was only to sort of quiet down the squabbling kids, if you like, the war chief and the security chief. Just to sort of stop them from bellowing at each other.
Yeah.
But he was very good in this. Like even the scenes where you expected him to blow up, where you expected him to lose it completely, just completely calm. And just used his authority just to You know, and he was very much like that as well. He sort of considered himself untouchable. You know, a bit of an immortal sort of character. But yeah, very well played by Philip Maddock.
He gets it in the end, though, doesn't he? The old Time Lords, they erase him.
They do with those.
Yeah, that's the only point he ever sort of shows, and he's like, he can't believe it, and he's like, what?
Yeah,
it's the only point where he loses it.
Yeah. Even right up to the split second before they start shooting him with those like sonic weapons, I guess, because he's like being deafened or blinded, whatever. Even up to that point, he's just standing there like, you know, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
and then that moment when they are shooting him, he's like, just that 5 seconds of complete vulnerability, completely vulnerable to, you know, everything around him. You know, he's like screeching at the top of his lungs. He's like, oh my God. And then when they stopped, he just back up, adjusts his glasses, and then he's back into it. So, yeah, he was like a highlight for me. But I wish he was in it more. Like you say, he was a bit underused and very, very good.
Yeah.
What about the security chief? Played by James Bree. He was the short guy with the glasses who put the big helmet thing on to read people's minds. And he spoke very strange, like he was an android at times.
He didn't work as well for me. He's okay, but yeah, I found that a little bit too. I think he should have perhaps toned it down a little bit, like Philip Maddock, rather than being this very strange talking person. It all seemed a little bit forced. He's okay. He's by no means bad, but I wasn't. I wasn't over enthralled by his performance, I have to say. Yeah, he's okay. I mean, he stands out. I suppose he had to be different, otherwise he'd just be like the other guys. So yeah, I suppose in that sense, given him, he's probably directed to talk like that, I assume. Or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. He didn't have any menace particularly to me. That one.
Yeah, he was. He's been in like so many TV programs.
Has he?
Like the list is unbelievable.
Really?
Like the original Avengers, Z-Cars, The Prisoner.
Is he in The Prisoner? I didn't recognise him.
Yeah, Upstairs, Downstairs, Rising Damp, The Sweeney, All Creatures Great and Small, The Professionals, The Return of Shot. He's been in like loads of stuff over the years. Obviously, I think he died back in 2008, but right up until like the late 90s, he was still, you know, doing films and TV. He's been in loads of things.
What's his name?
James Bree.
Security James Bree. All right. Yeah. Just as normally, you know, you see a face, you think, oh, I know him, but I don't know the name. But
do you know what I thought?
I didn't really, because I love The Prisoner as well, but I didn't sort of think, oh, it's him. Randall Hopkins. Yeah, I'm just looking at his CV now. The Sweeney as well. Love The Sweeney. Anyway,
so he's like, you know, he's very good acting skills. He was just a little bit, what's the word?
It's just the voice, I think. It's a little bit put on, isn't it? It's a bit. It's the sort of thing you sort of maybe did at school when you were, you know, playing Doctor Who in the playground. You do silly voices because it's science fiction.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, it just made me think of that, really. But again, it's not terrible.
What about the chief scientist? You know, the guy that...
I liked him.
Yeah, yes, we need to move these circuits around and yes. Oh, hello.
How did you do that? No, I liked him. I thought his...
the geek.
I thought he's a geek and he's got his little glasses with the little holes in and... I really liked his performance because he did sort of underplay it and didn't go over the top, and I could sort of totally believe he was this sort of nerd who just did all the hard work, kind of kept his head down, didn't really question anything. Yeah, I liked him. What was that guy's name, the actor?
Vernon Dobchev.
Right.
Dobchev, I think you pronounce it.
Yeah. No, I liked him. I thought he was a nice character. Yeah.
He was like the original geek. The original like nerd character, wasn't he? Like, you know, like the Big Bang Theory and all these people, you know, forget that. You know, this was like the original geek. Go back and check this out. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, I liked him. I really liked his performance, especially the scenes with Troughton that you just mentioned, when Troughton just pops up beside him and starts chatting to him, and it takes him a few seconds to be like, hang on a minute, who are you?
Let's be honest, though. It can't be that difficult to join metal circuits together, which are essentially fridge magnets.
They are I'd like some of them on my fridge, actually.
It can't be that difficult, can it?
Somebody out there is missing a trick not releasing those.
The fridge magnets.
Yeah, the War Games fridge magnets.
Yeah. The circuits that you join up together in a certain pattern, magically now you've got a brainwashing machine.
Yeah.
Or you put them in a different pattern, and magically you've got a TARDIS that can travel through time and space. But yes, he was very good character. Yes,
liked him.
Right, some of the other people, loads of soldiers. There was the in the Civil War time zone, the American Civil War, there was the guy who was, I think his name, he ended up having a lengthy role in EastEnders. Patrick, I think his name was, in EastEnders, the black guy.
Oh, I met, yes, him, yeah.
Yep, he was very good in this.
Yes.
He has a really good fight as well.
I was going to say, he actually does, yeah, because sometimes, 60s fight scenes are not the best. They're not great in this sometimes, but yeah, he does give it a bit welly. He
does, and he has a couple of rows with people, and he's quite passionate about finding this imaginary tunnel that all the soldiers are coming in from.
Yeah.
So he was very good. He was that time zone was interesting, wasn't it? Because we had the guy with the monocle.
Oh yeah,
turns up.
That's what I was trying to think of earlier.
Yeah, I think his name was
Von Welch, is it?
Von.
It's got to be him, hasn't it?
Von Veitch. Welch.
Oh yeah, it would be a V, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Von Veitch. Yeah, he was a little bit played
He's a little bit cliche, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He's all right though.
Yeah, he's all right.
Yeah, but he's managed to sort of get that hypnotizing thing down to a fine art there, because he doesn't need glasses. He's just got it all going on in one monocle.
In the monocle, yeah. He was a bit of a for me, he was a bit of a cheesy James Bond villain.
Yeah, he's got the scar on the face and everything. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
But otherwise, though, not too bad. There wasn't anyone in this really that was bad.
Oh no, don't get me wrong. There really. Well, the Mexican's a bit.
What's his name? What's his?
He really goes for it. That guy.
Yeah.
I gotta shoot your eyes. He's doing everything. He's going mad. He's really like grabbing his 5 minutes of fame.
Yes.
By the horns, that guy.
Yeah.
But no, there is nobody in it that's bad. I was just thinking,
yeah.
Isn't the guy who's with old Von Welch? Isn't that is that the one with David Troughton? Because he's in it, isn't he?
He's David Troughton's in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it the scenes with him? I've forgotten now.
Maybe. Yeah.
Because I was looking out for David Troughton because I knew he was in it. Yeah, and he looks incredibly different.
He does.
It's obviously a much younger man in this. Yeah. He looks very, very different.
Yeah. Then we have a sprinkling of other characters. We have the other soldiers who have little parts. We have the red coat guy who Jamie has a scuffle with, which is quite good. We have the guards who wear like the black rubber latex.
They're a bit
suits and the masks. Yeah, they're a bit.
They look like something that inspired Madonna's Erotica video many years later.
Well, they look a bit hot. To me, under those studio lights, I can.
When you say hot, you mean in the like we are now.
Oh, of course, yeah. I don't mean like
not in like a Pans People type way.
No. Yeah, I mean they were. I don't know. They look a bit
uncomfortable.
Who's the guy from Caves of Androzani? Is it
Sharon Jack?
Yeah, Jack.
I said that wrong, but yeah,
Jack. I think a bit of inspiration from those guys with his look. Yeah, so they were pretty good. And then we have obviously the Time Lords who arrive at the end.
Yeah,
those three very serious-looking chaps.
They're good, aren't they? Another great actor actually that's popped up in Doctor Who a couple of times. Bernard, what's his name? He's in The Mind Robber.
Bernard Horsfall.
But yeah, Bernard Horsfall. I really like him.
Very good.
Oh, he's in The Deadly Assassin as well, isn't he? Yeah, just something again. He always gives like a very steady performance. So perfect casting as a Time Lord, I thought.
Really good. Yeah.
Talking to the Mind Robber, did you notice a lot of the sound effects and special effects are the same as the Mind Robber? Like, you know, the sound effect and the gun effect with the circles, and you know, it's almost like stock special effects in this.
Almost, yeah. They were very similar, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, Bernard Horsfall, yeah, great actor, yeah. And Trevor Martin, isn't it, the other guy?
I
Time Lord?
think so.
Trevor Martin. I never realised he was the other Time Lord till now, because he went on to do a Doctor Who play at one point.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, they're good. The Time Lords. I don't know who the third one was. Sorry, I only recognised the two of them, but they are all good. They all give a very stern, calm, solid performance, I thought.
Yeah, and the direction was very good, I thought, for those. Again, another opportunity for them to be a bit OTT, but they ended up playing it very serious and very straight, and just buckets of authority. You know, it's like, you don't mess with these, you know, because the Doctor's very fearful almost of calling them for help, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
You know, he's not looking forward to their arrival at all. And then the War Chief, he just does his crust. You know, as soon as the Doctor summoned them with the little box trick, you know, he knows his game's up.
That's right. That's funny, isn't it? He gets it big time, yeah.
So the Time Lords, very, very good. Very authoritative, not phased at all by the Doctor's pleas or, you know, attempts to escape or shenanigans. None of that. They're just, you know, they're going to deal with him. Which is quite, you do feel a bit for the Doctor towards the end. You do feel, because he does put his case across quite well, doesn't he? He's like, he basically says, while you lot were, you know, content to sit there and observe the universe, I've been, you know, defeating the evil that, you know, around the, you know, people have been saved due to me, and I've saved, you know, lots of worlds and stuff. And they do take it on board, don't they? They're like, you know, we do acknowledge that there is evil in the universe, and you play a part in that. Not that you're evil, but you play a part in, you know, sorting out the trouble, effectively.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? It's a nice way of showing some sort of highlights of Pat's era for his last story as well. It sort of almost ties in, doesn't it? They show the Yeti on the screen and Cyberman, the Quark.
The Quark, yeah.
The Quark.
Yeah.
So it's quite a nice way of just sort of having a reflection on Pat's time, but also including it in the story in a really good way, I thought.
Yeah, because the Doctor's, he's like got a mental projection on the screen, hasn't he? And he shows them some of the, like you say, highlights, some of the monsters he's defeated. So the Time Lords, they really, you know, they're firm but fair.
Yes.
I think is a way to describe them. And they're acted pretty well, I would say.
Very different from the Time Lords we get in the new series. I would
extremely different, yeah.
Yeah, and I prefer these ones, to be honest with you, even though they're stuffy old, you know. But like you said, they're fair as well. So
yeah. Right. If there's no other supporting cast members, let's talk about our TARDIS team. Zoe,
she's good in this. I really liked Wendy Padbury in this one.
She's very concerned a lot.
Yes, she's playing it quite straight, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of companions and, you know, serving a purpose, she doesn't really have any key. She doesn't have a key role in the story, I wouldn't say. The only thing that she does really is break the Doctor out of his cell in episode 3.
Yeah.
But then that's short-lived because he's captured again within moments. But other than that, she's more like a good friend. She's more like a mate that you want along with along with you on the adventure. You know, she's there to sort of to cheer you up and prop you up and give you advice, kind of thing. She's not really there as anything. She doesn't have anything to do.
No, I suppose the best scenes of her are in the last couple of episodes, aren't they? When she's sort of sparring off Pat, and she kind of gets what's going on, whereas Jamie's still a little bit, he hasn't really grasped it, whereas she's kind of on the Doctor's level a bit more, and I thought she played that quite well. You're right, she doesn't get a lot to do, considering it's 10 episodes, but But I do like her in this. I think she gives quite a nice little performance. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, the character's weighted extremely well throughout the story. She's not in it too much. She's not in it. She's not in. You don't feel like she's not in it enough.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the characters throughout the story, they're weighted very well. Apart from a couple, you do feel like they're in it like the right amount. And she sort of falls into that really. And then we've got Jamie,
Zoe, yeah, Jamie, yeah,
Jamie. Love Jamie. He's such a good
lad, isn't he?
Yeah, he's such a good companion, and that's one of the words when you think of companions over the years, and even in modern Who, sometimes that word can be associated very loosely with certain companions, quote unquote. But Jamie is a proper companion. He's always there backing the Doctor up. Always just willing to get into a good old fight.
Yes,
either with the Doctor or for the Doctor, or for whatever cause they're fighting for in that particular story. He never shies away from, making his voice heard. He's a proper. He's like the guy that he's a bit like Mickey. He's the guy that you want at your side when stuff's going down.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And he's just great. He's just outspoken. He's got that typical Scotsman, outspokenness, not taking any crap that we've seen, a few times leading up to this one. And it's just, what do you actually, in terms of their performances in this, it's actually, we say goodbye, don't we?
We do.
We actually say goodbye to them. Yeah.
It's heartbreaking. I just want to say, I think Fraser's lovely, great companion. It does go to show that you can have a male companion with the Doctor, and it can work incredibly well.
Absolutely.
Because Fraser and Pat spar off each other brilliantly, and the three of them together, so Zoe, Jamie and the Doctor, are a fantastic TARDIS team.
Yeah.
So it is really heartbreaking at the end when they get packed off, and the Time Lords erase all their adventures apart from the very first one with the Doctor. So they get to remember their first adventures with the Doctor, but that's it. Everything else is erased, which it reminds me a bit of the Donna thing when Donna got her mind wiped. It's heartbreaking because you think, no, all the good stuff they did, all the fun, all the adventures, you can't take that away from them, and especially because there is such an amazing bond between the three of them.
Yeah,
it's I think it's one of the saddest but beautifully written send-offs for a companion. It's brilliant, and I love the fact they went to the effort of slotting them back into their first adventure, so we get the set from The Wheel in Space, although it's different, but it's similar enough to work.
You know it's there.
There. They brought back an actress just for that, from that story, for that one little scene. It's a lovely bit of effort they've gone to, just that they probably didn't need to do, but it really helps to sell the story that they're back where they started. And Jamie gets thrown in with a red coat?
With the red coat, yeah.
Yeah, he gets thrown in with a red coat. So it's
ready to have a good old scrap.
Yeah, exactly. So they get put back in their own lives. And it's it's heartbreaking and brilliant at the same time.
Yeah, it's really well written as well, because we don't have this huge build up to their departure. We don't have like one or two episodes where you know that they're going to go. So you have this real big emotional build up. It's almost out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's because the Time Lords, it's their decision, isn't it? They basically say they've got to go.
Yeah.
And they'll erase their memories. And again, that tiny little bit of compassion from the Time Lords, that firm but fair thing, where they say, we won't make them forget you altogether. They'll just forget. They'll just remember the first meeting with you.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's like you were never there. So it is heartbreaking. It's very sad, but it was well written. It wasn't like a huge, national event. That was built upon, for a long time. So yeah, like you say, they're a really good TARDIS team, these three.
Oh, they are. It's a great TARDIS team.
And it does go to prove that you can have a good male companion. You can have a good, because although Adric was a bit annoying, and Turlo was pretty good. He was pretty good. But for me, Jamie is one of the best male companions. And just the chemistry, I guess it depends on the actors. If you can find a good chemistry, like Fraser and Pat, just so good.
They clearly, all three of them clearly get on, don't they? Outside of work, it's you get the chemistry there.
Yeah. And finally, Patrick Troughton himself,
Pat,
second Doctor. I'm pretty sure I know what you're going to say, but for me, this was one of his best, one of his absolute best.
I think I think he's great in it, and it's funny because I was watching it and thinking he's more serious in this than we sometimes see the second Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think you said earlier, we don't get so many of the sort of comical bits.
Yeah.
But when we do get them, they're just brilliant. And even throughout the whole 10 episodes, you can't take your eyes off him when he's on screen.
Mm-hmm.
He's just, I think, I can't say anything bad about Pat. I think he's superb in this. It's a great send off for him. And as I said, I don't know. He's slightly more. You can see that he's coming to the end of his run. I was going to say he almost seems slightly worn out at the end in terms of in terms of the story. I mean, because he accepts that the game is up. He's had to call in the Time Lords. So when we get to that last episode, which I love episode 10, where he's going on the run, he jumps to the TARDIS, he tries everything to run away. It's brilliant. It's so fun. But then he has to concede there is no way of getting away from the Time Lords. He's got to go and face them.
Yeah.
And right up to his very last moment, I think he gives a brilliant performance. I mean, I love the bit where he gets to try and choose his face on the screen. He's like, oh, he's no good. He's too old. He's too fat, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, he's too young.
Oh, this just won't do.
It's Pat is just a one-off, I think, and and that end scene with him just shows, I don't think anyone else could have done that as good as him. I think he's brilliant in it.
No, I think we see a lot of his acting skills throughout the 10 episodes. We see him very concerned and very eager to try and sort out what's going on. He really wants to stop all the killing that's constantly going on. And then these little funny moments, not as much as we've seen in previous stories, the comical side, but they're still there. A few little points.
Yeah.
And the thing that was for me that when he was at his best in this episode was the scenes towards the end where he knew the end was coming. He just played, and it's almost sad to watch.
Oh, it is.
It's almost sad. I mean, it's still enjoyable because while you're watching it, you're thinking, the story is still great, and there's lots going on, which is great, and Troughton's just brilliant. But then there's a little tiny part of you that's thinking, oh, but it's so sad because while he was filming it, he must have been like, this
is it.
Almost a Tennant moment, like I don't want to go. It's almost, you could see it in his face that there was probably a mixture of like, I'm glad this is all done because I'm exhausted, but also like, I love this character and, I don't want to go. So you could see that in his face. He's got a very telling face. You can see what's going on in his mind from, what you see on the screen.
And I think going by the production notes on this one, it was quite a tough story for him to film on a lot of levels, because I think they were, because of the things going on behind the scenes where they had to write, I think, as I said, it was supposed to be 6 episodes and they had to stretch it to 10 because things fell through, and so they were writing episodes really late in the day.
Right.
And I think Pat found that quite hard from what they were saying on the DVD, because he was sort of, he liked to sort of really know the script, and he would, although he wouldn't always stick exactly to the lines, he would often give an interpretation of the script. He needed to know it. So I think getting in the scripts really so close to filming and not being able to rehearse them as much as they normally would, and I think it was quite a tough story for him for his last story. But you wouldn't know from his performance. I think he's bang on the money in it.
Yeah. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. But it is a great send off, though, isn't it, for a Doctor? The way that he goes, it's a brilliant. Yeah. Because some of the regeneration stories can be hit and miss, but I think this is a good one.
It's a really good one. And also it's interesting that we don't see a regeneration. We just see Pat pulling all these weird and wonderful faces, and, you know, and then that's it. That's the end of the series. So the next time we see the Doctor is Pertwee collapsing out of the TARDIS, isn't it?
Yeah.
Into a field. So it's one of those. I think, is it the only story, with the exception of McCoy, where we don't actually see? No, we did see McCoy regenerate because it's in the movie, isn't it? We don't see 8 into 9, but then that's slightly,
that's right. Yeah,
but that's slightly different though, because that's like so many years between classic and new Doctor Who. That's kind of, you know, expected.
Yes.
So it's the only regeneration out of all the first 8 Doctors where we don't actually see him sort of, you know, that classic morph into another Doctor. Actually, no, I think I'm speaking rubbish here, because didn't we have McCoy in Colin Baker? We didn't see his regeneration, did we?
Well, we
they
fudged
fudged it, didn't they?
McCoy in the wig, isn't it? Yeah,
it's in the wig. Yeah. So mind you, that. So that's you kind of saw it. They fudged it a bit, but this is the only.
Yeah, I guess I do remember the very first time I ever saw this on a grainy old VHS. I remember thinking that we were going to see him turn into John, because I didn't know that we didn't, and because Pat starts pulling those faces, I thought, that's because John pulls those faces, doesn't he? I thought, here we go. He's got any minute now. That big nose is going to pop out the screen, but we don't. And it was quite a shock the first time I ever saw this.
Yeah, it just sort of fades into black, and that's it.
That's it. But I like it because you can imagine with him doing those faces. You can imagine Pertwee at the other end of the black tunnel doing those faces and turning into the Doctor. So I can see it in my mind's eye happening.
Yeah,
but we don't get to see it on screen. Yeah.
So it's definitely an episode or a story of change, because not only, like we said at the beginning, not only does the production values change massively between this and the next one,
big time.
But it's almost like a bit of a complete change all round. So the companions are gone, the Doctor's gone. It's the last ever Doctor Who in black and white. So it's all change from here, isn't it? This is like the point in which it's quite a milestone in Doctor Who.
Yeah, it's definitely a milestone. Yeah.
So that's the War Games. Is there anything that we've missed in your notes before we get on to scores?
No, I think we've managed to cram quite a lot in, actually.
Yeah.
I must admit, when we first said about doing this, I thought, wow, we've got a lot to cover over these 10 episodes.
Yeah.
Now I think it's done well. I guess the other thing I had noticed there was the music. That theme keeps coming in all the way through it. Does get a bit overused. And there's another theme, where the things coming over the hill, what they called the things on the horses. Roundels? They're not roundels. The guys marching over the hill over the horses when they cross through a time zone.
Oh, yes.
There's a bit of music there, like cavalier music. And it sounds like, I kept thinking it was driving me mad trying to think what it was, because it goes, and then it goes into something else. But I was like, what is that? That is something else. And then I remembered it's the American Dad. It's like,
oh, of course.
I was like, oh my God, all those years earlier. But no, I think we've covered it, mate. I think we've got most of it in there, all the important stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we could probably talk about this for another hour or so. I mean,
we could. Yeah,
it's one for us to park until we have a couple of beers at a convention somewhere.
Absolutely,
chew the fat a bit more. Rightio, scores. It's you to go first.
It is me to go first, isn't it? I'm going to go 9 out of 10 for this one.
A 9?
A 9 out of 10. I think it's a great storyline. Performances are good. I find it very entertaining to watch. It feels epic. It's a great send-off for Pat. Knocking off a point because I suppose there is padding in there, that you can't deny it. It would have made for an absolutely phenomenal six-parter, but it's still a really, really good watch at 10 parts. So, 9 out of 10 for me.
Yep, snap.
Really?
9 out of 10, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Knocked a point off literally because, probably for the same reason that many of our listeners would say, it could have comfortably been a good six-parter. So there was a wee bit of extra stuff in there that you could have done without, for sure. So it's not perfect in that respect. However, the acting and the writing and the cast just make it such a great wash. We obviously can't speak today. We have some
it's
more
the
water.
sun. Yeah. It's boiling our brains.
I'll blame it on the sun. It is so hot. Right. It makes it a great watch. The cast, especially Pat, Fraser, and Wendy, they're all just so good. Yeah. Such a good episode to watch. And the supporting cast, no complaints at all. It's just all great stuff. And the story, the writing, if you haven't seen this yet, if you're a listener and you haven't seen the War Games, and it's one of those many opportunities where we say, if you've not dived into Classic Who yet, and you're thinking about it, and you're thinking, oh, the second Doctor looks cool. It's well, having said that, if you only want to watch the second Doctor, there's probably a couple to watch before this one to warm yourself into the 10 episodes. But it's a cracker of a story. It's almost perfect, I would say, in terms of Classic Who.
Yeah, and it's so lucky it exists because so much of Pat's era is still missing from the archive. So we're so lucky that we've got all 10 parts of this.
True.
Yeah. So savor it. Yeah, if you haven't watched it, don't be put off by the 10 parts. Get into it. It's good.
Yeah. Right. What did you lovely lot think? Let's do an audio review first. This is Alex Kingdom.
Hello, Gary and Adam from the Igloo Box podcast. Well, congratulations on your 100 episode anniversary. You've entertained me for so long now, and I can't thank you enough. But today, it's the War Games. This episode is great. I loved it. I literally just watched all 10 episodes like a minute ago. This is straight after, and I just want to say the impact it left on me is still. I'm still shaking a little bit because through the story I was connected to Jamie and Zoe. And to see them go at the end was quite upsetting. But the entire premise of the episode is very smart, and that's what I like. It was and it didn't lag and drag out. It made sense, and it had, so it could introduce you to the characters. And the War Chief is probably the most vindictive person I know in the Doctor Who universe in the classic series. And the Warlord I thought to be a bit disappointing, actually. But I really enjoyed it. Jamie and Zoe were great. And Patrick Troughton, well, he deserves to get an Oscar for that performance. I think he was great throughout the entirety of the story. But yeah, I really enjoyed the episode. I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10 because I thought it was great. See you guys next week. Happy 100. Enjoy it.
Cheers, Alex.
Thanks, Alex.
Glad
Strong
you're okay.
Score there.
Yeah, glad you're okay because Adam and I were saying we haven't heard from Alex in a while because he normally sends in a review every week without fail.
I was getting worried. I was like, where's Alex?
But it turns out he was just on holiday.
Oh, I hope you had a good holiday.
Which is allowed, I suppose.
Yeah.
Right, over on Twitter, Michael Herbert says, Pat at his best. Also a great script from Dix and Hulk.
Yes.
Oncoming Storm Radio.
Oh, that's a good name.
Says, it's not really a review, more of a question. He says, better than The Mind Robber.
Oh, I do like The Mind Robber, but yes. Yeah.
Do you know what? This is so weird because you and I think and say the same things about Who all the time. And when I read that tweet the other day, I said out loud, oh, I do like The Mind Robber. In exactly the same way that you've just said it.
Yeah.
I thought when I read it, I was like, oh, I do like The Mind Robber. But is it better than The War? Oh, I'm not sure.
Better than The War Game. That's one for the pub.
That is one for the pub for sure. We'll talk and debate on that over the next however many years. Oncoming Storm Radio. Thank you for that question. It's going to melt our OCD now for certain amount of years. So, Connor A. Twitter name is @Jimmy_Goodchild says, an amazing story. The War Games is a must watch for any Who fan.
It is. It definitely is, actually. It is. When you say must watch, you can use that a bit too flippantly, but this really is. Yeah.
It really is. Yeah. Shane Rees says, I love the War Games. Outstanding. Yeah.
Outstanding. Yeah.
Yep. And lastly on Twitter, Adam the Whovian. I keep wanting to call him Adam the Ultimate Whovian.
Yeah, I think he is the ultimate. It's probably because Twitter only allows so many characters.
Yeah. He says the War Games ends 60s Doctor Who with a fairly well-structured sci-fi epic, Troughton's finest, great departure story. He's bucked the trend. He hasn't given us a score out of 10.
Oh.
He's given us 5 stars.
5 stars,
So
okay.
I imagine that's 10 out of 10.
That's 10 out of 10.
Yes.
Yeah. Cheers, Ad.
Rightio. And that's it for Twitter. Let's do another audio review. This is Owen Daly.
Hello, and congratulations on 100 episodes. This is incredible. I myself have only been listening to it for about 20 episodes or something since the new year, I think. So congratulations on that, just before I get into the War Games. So yeah, big thumbs up, and I look forward to the next 100. So, the War Games, what I'm actually here for. Now, I have to thank you actually for choosing this one for this momentous episode, because prior to this, I had never actually seen the War Games, which does seem a bit dodgy because I'm a Doctor Who fan, but then again, I am still pretty young at 14, so I wouldn't be expected to have seen all of Classic Who, but now that I watched it, it's really widened my perspective of Patrick Troughton, because before this I would have just loved his Doctor, but now I really love his Doctor. He'd be up now in my top 5 again. But it's such a fabulous constructed 10-part story. It gives loads of time to breathe, and it's just fantastic. Words cannot explain. Patrick Troughton gives his best performance. The War Chief is a fantastic creation. And now I'd read the book Players recently, the Sixth Doctor novel, and now I understand it so much more. It makes me want to read it again. So Terence Dix and Malcolm Hulke, not Tulk, gave possibly one of the best send-offs to the Patrick Troughton era, and I have to say, I just love this. It is definitely an 8.5 out of 10. So congratulations, and bye.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for that. I'm really glad. I love it when people say, that they've watched something because we're doing it. I just love the thought that we're getting people into stories that they may have sidelined or not watched for a while or something. Yeah, so that's brilliant.
Good stuff. Cheers, Owen. Let's move on to Facebook. So our good friend Mr. Nick Gill says, well, where to begin? For one, it's a great story and the first to introduce the Doctor's people and his first trial, in commas. Whilst I like the story and the premise, I always thought it was at least 4 episodes too long. There's an awful lot of padding and quite a bit of needless back and forth. It could have been resolved quite a bit quicker and still had the desired effect. Philip Maddock managing to appear twice in a season and pulling it off was quite a challenge.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Nick. Joe Sweeney, I haven't watched the whole episode yet, but I have seen the end scenes ages ago, so I thought I'd do a tiny review. It was it was a great intro to the Time Lords, and brilliant the scenes where the Doctor was on trial and the Time Lords forced him to regenerate and exile him to 20th century Earth. Shame we didn't get a proper regeneration and an intro of John Pertwee. No score for this, so I think he's just seen elements of it, but can't give us a score because he hasn't seen the whole thing. Joe, go and watch it.
Joe's watching it. I know why. It's because he's watching them in order from the very beginning.
I thought he was past the second Doctor now.
Is he? I'm not sure.
Probably
no,
not.
I think he's got to maybe he's got to the Crotons or something. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. Well, you're in for a treat, buddy. Right. Let's do another audio clip. Actually, this is from Who Addicts Reviews, Matt Rowney.
We're dancing, Matt. We're dancing.
Sorry guys, had to do that. Happy 100th episode of the Big Blue Box podcast. I think I've watched literally every single one without fail, and I've loved every single second of it. Hi there, Gary and Adam. I hope you two are well, and you could not have picked a better episode to review than the War Games, because I'm just going to go out and say it, the War Games is my favourite episode of Doctor Who of all time. I adore it beyond belief, and it's actually one of the reasons as to why I hate Hellbent so much. It's kind of weird how an episode I love so much is the reason as to why I have an episode that I hate. So anyway, enough of that crap. On to the War Games, the 10-part masterpiece extravaganza. I mean, I could go on and on about why I love it, and I haven't got enough time to, but all the characters are just fantastic. You get the whole story is set in so many different places. It's like we're on this wonderful journey with all these amazing people, and we get to meet the Time Lords for the first time too, which is just incredible. It's the first time in Doctor Who history that we got a character piece on the Doctor, and this amazing character who we had taken into our homes, who we loved for 6 years at this point, and we knew nothing about him, and we found out all these amazing truths about the Doctor, that he ran away from his people, and that that he stole a TARDIS, and we didn't know why. And when we found out, about the Time Lords, and they revealed what he had done, it really put the Doctor in a new perspective. And Patrick Troughton was astonishing. I mean, the War Games is one of my main reasons as to why he is my favourite classic Doctor, and borderline my favourite of all time. He was just unbelievable in this story, and he brought a completely new side to the Doctor that we'd never seen before. And along with that, Jamie and Zoe were amazing. The Warlord, the War Chief, was outstanding. And the final scene where he's pleading with the Time Lords to not send him down, and he was showing through all of his era, of all the enemies he defeated, and pleading with them to let him survive, was incredible. Honestly, it was the perfect regeneration story, and it was the perfect Doctor Who story, and it's the only 10-part story that I could honestly watch over and over again. It is the best episode of all time, so I'm going to give the War Games 100 out of 10. See what I did there? And yeah, I'll see you guys for episode 101, and here's to the next 100.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Cheers, Matt. I thought he was going to say here's to the future for a minute. Here's to the future. Love is the answer. Good to hear his bird Billy chirping away in the background there. He clearly loves the War Games as well.
Did you hear Billy funking out?
Yeah, I can imagine him rocking in his cage.
Awesome, yeah. Thank you very much, Matt. And for your kind words as well.
Yeah.
We've seen, I'm not going to lie and say that I've seen every Who's Addicts video, but I think I've seen 99% of them. I might have missed like the odd one or two from like very early on. But yeah, thank you very much. And yeah, if you haven't checked out Who Addicts reviews, go and find them on YouTube.
Absolutely.
Good stuff on there. Right, back on Facebook, Sammy Satine. She says, so someone is stealing humans from Earth who are in those time periods and battles already, and watching them fight for what? Their own amusement? Worse, the glasses or monocles or whatever seem to be being used by the generals to make people forget stuff. Even worse still, there's a Time Lord involved. The Doctor tries to stop the War Games, but alas, he can't do it himself, so at great personal risk, he summons the Time Lords. It is, I think, a little bit longer than the story needs to be, but also cutting down the trial and the regeneration and the goodbyes to Jamie and Zoe to those few minutes in the last episode seems to be a bit mean, considering all they have been through together. I cried when they all had to say goodbye, and I feel sad that they don't remember all of their adventures with the Doctor. A truly sad end for a wonderful Doctor, as played by, of course, the late great Patrick Troughton, who puts in an excellent performance, and she gives it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, 10. Oh, I'm glad she enjoyed it. Yeah, because Sammy was the person I was talking about earlier, wasn't it? Saying that she was wondering if it's going to be a bit of a slog.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you enjoyed it, Sammy.
Nice one. Danny Brown says, the War Games, so very long, but definitely worth the watch. Finally, we get to the Doctor's roots in a very cleverly written story, liking in several wars throughout time. Even though this story drags a little in the middle, it's still a great send-off for black and white Doctor Who. Jamie and Zoe's departure is one of the saddest the series has ever seen. 8.5.
Excellent.
Lastly, on Facebook, Lewis Palmer says, this quite possibly is the most important story in Doctor Who, because the Time Lords are introduced, and it changes everything we thought we knew about the Doctor before this. They are gods. They can erase someone from existence just because they feel like it. It's a shame that they were made out to be weaker as the series goes along. The rest of the villains are really creepy, such as the Warlord and the War Chief. Pat Fraser and Wendy give one last hurrah in 3 amazing performances. Their goodbye scene is so sad, and the line that Zoe says once she forgets about the Doctor is one of the best lines in Who history. Troughton's final trial is breathtaking, and you can't take your eyes off his regeneration. I would say that you could have cut down the story to about 8 parts because some episodes do drag and go nowhere. That doesn't stop this masterpiece from being worthy of a 9 out of 10. Congrats on getting 100 episodes, guys. Here's to the next 100.
Excellent. Cheers for that.
Some good points there, Lewis. And
very good.
Let's do our final audio clip. This is Jay Kent.
Happy 100, Gary and Adam. And what better way to celebrate than the War Games? Never would I think a 10-episode long story would just fly by. It's filled with brilliant characters, splendid ideas and amazing concepts. The War Chief looks spectacular and menacing, but the War Lord seemed to look less so. He is literally Steve Jobs, from the glasses to the turtleneck. But despite everything this episode has to offer, it's the last segment that really makes this for me. Our first look at the Time Lords in Gallifrey. Moffat really needs to take a page out of this story's book on how to write them. Brutal, merciless politicians who wholly believe what they're doing is just. And the Doctor's goodbye to Jamie and Zoe, while subtle and small, was more heartfelt than any of the grand deaths and departures we've had in modern years. And talking of Zoe, when she said in one of the earlier episodes, "I haven't done anything," she wasn't lying. I forgot she was there for the majority. But nevertheless, I think this episode does deserve a 10 out of 10. I will see you next time, guys, but you and I know time is relative, isn't it? So yeah, hope you're doing well, and here's to the next 100.
Awesome.
Cheers, Jay.
Never fails to entertain.
No.
Mr. Jay Kent. And once again, check out his stuff. Very, very, very funny.
Yes, good stuff. He's a little sad at the moment. His last video was about his lack of enthusiasm for Series 10, and he said he doesn't like to be sad. So we hope you're happy, Jay.
Yeah, hope you're doing okay.
Yeah,
yes.
A little bit sad. That video.
I've seen a couple of blog articles and videos recently about people falling out of love a little bit with Who at the minute and not being up for Series 10.
I've seen a couple of it. I've watched one this morning, actually, from our good friend Lewis Palmer, otherwise known as the Gargantuan Apple, has done a video saying he's not excited yet for Series 10. But yeah, don't know, still early days. You never know, guys. Something may pop up soon that'll reignite your enthusiasm.
Yeah, James Wilson from Who Addicts did a video.
Yes,
saying he's not very happy. It's okay, guys. It'll
be fine.
It'll be fine, I'm sure. So, thank you. Actually, do you have anything on Geek Sandbag?
Yeah, I did have a couple. I had George Coppin on the Facebook page. Just wanted to wish us a happy 100th podcast. So thank you for that, George. And Elliot Beasley on Twitter says, first of all, I'd like to congratulate you and Gary for reaching 100 episodes of the podcast. So thank you for that, Elliot. He says, now, The War Games is a 10-part masterpiece that sends off the Troughton era in the best way possible. The story is very interesting as it manages to combine science fiction with successful historical elements to result in a truly great last hurrah to the Second Doctor. There's a really eerie atmosphere throughout the story too, which is emphasised by the creepy villains, especially General Smythe and Von Welch. The War Games is also a pivotal point in the show's history as it introduces the Time Lords who are presented as godlike figures. I much prefer this interpretation because it's a lot more mysterious than later appearances. That's true. The ending is also tragic and there's a real sense of loss as Jamie and Zoe forget their experiences with the Doctor. The setting of different war zones in one huge world is effective enough to keep the plot going, and although it may be too long in some places, I think this just adds to the overall epicness. The only issue I can find is that there is no full regeneration in that John Pertwee does not appear, but overall it deserves at least a 9 out of 10, if not higher. Thanks for that, Elliot.
Yeah, it's a good point, sir.
Yeah, very good points.
Very
so
good.
Overall, those that have seen it really, really enjoyed it, I think, and I'm glad that at least 2 people watched it for the first time and really enjoyed it, so that's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Once again, a huge thank you and a massive thank you that we've said 100 times now already. Thank you for sending in your thoughts, whether it's on social media or you send us an audio clip or whatever. Thank you so much.
Yes, thanks, guys.
It's the best part at Sure.
It is.
That's going to do for the War Games and episode 100.
Okay.
Thank you for sticking with us and listening this far in. Thank you for your thoughts and reviews on the War Games. Adam, my good fellow.
Yes, Gary.
What are we going to review next week?
Next week, Matt Smith's story next week, The Crimson Horror. That's that one with that funny little worm. What's he called? When he gets trodden on.
I've only seen
Mr.
this
Squiggly.
once.
I can't remember what he's called.
I've only seen this once, buddy, so it's going to be an interesting review. I'll have to obviously rewatch again to find out what I don't remember.
Do you know, the fun thing is I think I've only seen it once or twice max.
Yeah.
And I certainly haven't watched it in a while. So, yeah, it'll be interesting.
Very interesting. So, as always, looking forward to you guys' reviews and thoughts and feelings on the Crimson Horror. Send us an audio clip or a Facebook post or whatever. The choice is yours. Remember, we've got our giveaway, our Big Blue Box goodie bag. Just tell us what story I spoke about in episode 1. Send us a tweet, Facebook post, an email, whatever you like, and we will try and remember to announce the winner next week. Check out Adam's channel, The Geek's Handbag. You can find him on YouTube and Facebook. So many good videos. If you don't subscribe to Adam's channel yet, you are wasting precious time. You're wasting daylight. Go out and subscribe and watch all of his cool videos. They're what drew me to Adam in the first place.
Exactly.
His awesome content. Go and check out our website, www.big.
Oh, that's the first time.
It's the heat, man. I'm telling you.
It is. We are literally cooked, both of us, aren't we? We're melting.
Go and check out our website, www.bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to all of our episodes and link off to all the social stuff. Plus, you can subscribe via iTunes. Until next week, my name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And
now, come on, let's get it in time.
Remember.